consistency. I'm going to be talking about what it represents and how it does its representation of the symbolism in the media. That was a lot of wordy words I just used.
Well, I do plan to talk about like not just like the plot or anything. I could even talk about. I was thinking about mentioning the visual effects, the production design, all those like different technical things that I noticed about the show on my second watch, which I started yesterday. But yeah, okay.
One of the things I remember being kind of poorly done was some of the buggy effects. I remember being like CGI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can
iffy.
we can talk about that in like the stream. When we I assume we're gonna do episode by episode, right? Or
yeah, we're gonna do it like that.
I mean, we're covering it all in one stream, I assume, right? It shouldn't take any longer than a few hours, not even.
I've only rewatched everything except for the last one.
That's okay.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I got notes.
I didn't take notes.
What about you?
I mean, I rewatched it recently, so yeah.
I mean, yeah, I remember mostly everything now, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the episode pulled up on my laptop just in case.
I also want to tackle how One Piece covers politics as well, because I think that they have a very interesting twist on it in fiction that I haven't seen that much anywhere else. I've seen it attempted similarly to One Piece, but specifically live action, I think it has a very interesting way of doing it.
You just reminded me of Hassan's One Piece political takes.
Hassan's kind of a freak. I'm gonna be real.
I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
Hey, yo.
I'm being tame. Okay.
But let's see. Not gonna lie, the first episode is so good. I just have a lot of thoughts about it.
It does an incredible job.
Choreography, like body language between actors and how they.
But yeah, let's like save that for
the first episode.
There is so much to get into with this series as a whole. Like, goddamn.
And bringing up, I'm gonna be clear. We can bring up citations like as we're talking about it, but we're not gonna just like go through the episode and talk. This isn't a director's commentary.
Yeah.
But if we need to bring up a scene for citation, we can do that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if seems like I'm the one that's like making the rules and shit. I just specifically because eventually I'm gonna be moving on from THUMPCAST. I want to develop some like skills on like how to deliver myself properly. Because I feel like on THUMPCAST beforehand we were just very jokey, and it's like I want this to be something that I can present to some of my friends or present it in college as more of an informative type of discussion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, cool.
Let's see, what's your stance on Spectacular Spider-Man as of now? To be honest, I have to rewatch it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
My thoughts are I would enjoy going through it again, and I would go through it with an open mind, despite the things that we've said about it in the past. In fact, I might just scrap those ideas. I don't even know if I really agree with them anymore. I'll have to rewatch.
Yeah. Oh. Ow. The back. All right. That's better. Yeah, I guess we should start with the first episode, which I think is probably up there in terms of my favorites. I think my favorite ones will be 7 and 8, but this one is also up there.
One of my favorites, just for sheer choreography and direction, would have to be the one where Mihawk comes in and how they handle the drama that follows through with that.
Yeah.
That one's episode 5, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That was the
I absolutely love
Baratier.
Mihawk's introduction.
That was the first Baratier episode.
Yeah.
I just rewatched that an hour ago.
One at a time. I kind of didn't catch that. It was SK, then
I was just
DeLorean.
saying I like the arc, but yeah, Dom can go on.
Yeah.
What?
No, it was DeLorean. He was
No. I was just saying that the Mihawk episode I watched again an hour ago. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. The choreography is really spot on there.
Yeah, one thing I want to kind of emphasize on is how good Inaki Godoy is as Luffy. like how he embodies the character. He does it super well. He's not like over the top like he is in the anime or in other media, but this one it feels like a more modernized and like kind of down to earth version of Luffy for like Western audiences. I love what they did with the series because the original had like a lot of problematic stuff. Obviously, I know I said I wouldn't get into like comparisons between manga and anime events to avoid spoilers, but just what they've done with Inaki Godoy and a lot of the other actors, like especially Sanji, I think they did a pretty like clean up job making them very likable to modern audiences. I thought that was impressive.
What I really like about Luffy is the fact that he's really optimistic, and they really do a great job of him asking about like what everyone's dreams are whenever like he has a great scene with them, right? So even with Zoro, for example, which is in the first episode, right? When he lets him go, why Zoro, ultimately joins him is because Luffy wasn't just trying to get him to join his crew. He asked questions like, "What's your dream?" and he just let him go so that he would go and follow it, right? So positive qualities like that. That's really the show does a really great job of highlighting them with Luffy. I thought that was great.
I agree. Luffy has a very like big emphasis on like he hires people for practical reasons. Like he goes up to Zoro looking for him to join his crew because he's a good swordsman and he has a very big reputation as a pirate hunter, a bounty hunter that is like spread all across East Blue. It's like I could use that on my crew. But he just doesn't just want him to use them as like a hired gun. It's like if you're gonna be on here, I'm gonna need you to have some like drive. What are you doing this for?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not just giving you freedom, like on the boundaries that you've joined my crew. I'm giving it on the fact that on the basis of, well, maybe we can actually achieve what you want, and you can help me out, like a bit of an exchange here. It makes the character seem more three dimensional, not just like, oh, well, I'm the main character. Would you like to? I'm creating a pirate crew. Would you like to join
Yeah.
or die? Like creates it creates more of like a he has better overall awareness in live action. I kind of saw like Luffy himself has a lot more like self-awareness, and that's kind of like he knows that the people that he's dealing with are very like motivated people. They're very motivated to their craft, and obviously people with big motivations like that must have dreams, so that's what he figures will click really well with them.
That's what I really like about all the characters as well. They all have their unique qualities, and it makes sense. Like, okay, they all have their own different contributions to the crew as a whole. You have like Sanji, who's a really good cook, but also a really good fighter. Zoro, he's a really good swordsman. Nami's the navigator, and stuff like that. Like they all have their unique contributions to the whole crew, which I really liked.
And it's not in like a way where it's like not the game, but like well, just what's done with a lot of the Suicide Squad. What a lot of that can like be dumbed down to, and like what I've seen of say the game, the movie, is it doesn't come off as like it doesn't like pop out as much because the characters that are doing it, or they're kind of like forced into this situation, so it becomes this kind of slow burn thing instead of where with One Piece it kind of jumps into it. You know what these characters are, why they're doing this, and it's all like within their free will. Like it becomes more motivating. Whereas something that I've seen within at least even the Suicide Squad game is a lot of them just seem like they're just getting annoyed with each other because they're stuck this way. Like they have no other choice. Like I feel like giving giving the characters a sense of like choice and direction, like a sense of real choice, not oh do this or I blow your head off and we can lower your sentence. I feel like doing that can really like make the characters pop out because of their like decision making. And not only that, but the fact that like they decide to go with the main character under conditions, of course.
Yeah,
episode
absolutely.
2 really shows that well. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just agreeing. Go on.
Yeah, episode 2, I think really shows it off well with Nami sort of at that point not really being sure about the crew, but Zoro just absolutely sure, like, yeah, no, I'm gonna get out of this and help Luffy. Zoro already has that drive to be a part of the crew and to help Luffy achieve his dream as long as, as well as his own.
Yeah. And that's what I
Yeah,
really liked
remember
about.
that.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was just gonna say that in episode 2, remember that moment where I think his name is Kabaji. Is that correct? That guy
Yeah, it's Kabaji.
in
You talking about the unicycle guy
Kabaji.
with the knives?
Yeah, him,
Mhm.
Kabaji, right? Remember when he asked Zoro, why do you believe in Luffy? And then Zoro's like, no, he just believes in himself, right? I feel like those like really key moments, even that moment, well, by then you kind of already know that Zoro is a part of the crew, whether he directly says it or not. He directly says he is in, I believe, episode 6, right? So
Mhm.
but by then you already kind of knew that, yeah, he's in it because he sees the drive that Luffy has for himself and how he acts and around his friends and just people in general. So yeah, episode two is another really strong. That might be one of my like top 5 episodes, honestly.
I'm gonna have to like one thing I'm kind of thinking about is how to space out like the topics because right now we're talking about like main characters and motivation, but later down the line I would like to get into side plots and world and like the world government because I feel like
Mhm.
that is also a very interesting topic to delve into. But
Also,
I
oh,
just
sorry.
wanted to say I just wanted to say that so like everyone was aware of like what
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking. But back to like main characters and motivations, you're right, DeLorean. I actually do like that as well because it's like how you said how like he's a part of the crew whether he knows it or not. Like after their first like day together, they have like already a pretty fundamental understanding of each other's characters and personalities when like kind of showing how they click and how Luffy's growing on Zoro even by the tiniest margin. Even if Zoro deep down at this point in time finds him a little bit annoying and is just like kind of using him
Yeah.
to like settle his own dream because he he would get lost if it was just him. I find that oh my god, the way that they do that even like better was probably with Nami and how that builds up. I'll
Mhm.
save the end of like Nami's character arc for later when we get to the like 6th and 7th episode. But for now, what I'll say about Nami is I love the kind of situation where she's kind of put into it where they have a mutual agreement of oh well I mean we can use this like we're using the Grand Line map we both have different purposes I don't really like you or even respect any of you guys but over the course of say up to the 3rd episode she actually really starts to admire them and their qualities despite generally hating pirates and even like despising the idea of working with them at first because the
I
way that
personally
that's
think that
executed by the
changes.
end was awesome.
Yeah, and
Well, I
welcome
personally think that
Chronos and
changes at the end of
JT.
episode 2.
One
Yeah,
at a time,
listen.
please.
I can't control when the snake shits, all right. But when it shits, when I tell you I spend half a bottle of Febreze on my room, I mean,
Oh,
I think Nami's attitude actually changes at the end of episode 2. When Luffy frees them all, and the mayor asks him, "Well, aren't you pirates?" And he's like, "I'm a different kind of pirate." And she just looks over at him. I like
Yeah.
that so much because earlier on the episode, he was like, "I'm a different kind of pirates," and it's like there's only one kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Which
also
gets
something the show quite does quite often. Like they use Luffy to point out that there are good pirates and bad pirates and good marines and bad marines. That's a strong through line throughout the season. Even using Nami in episode 3 when they're trying to get a new ship, right? And then Luffy's like, "No, I want to do this the right way. I want to try and buy the ship first instead of stealing it." So things like that.
yeah. And I like how there's an actual discussion between Luffy and Kobe about, good pirates versus bad pirates or bad Marines versus good Marines. It helps show that this world that, that we're in, it's not a one or the other black and white kind of situation. Like there's going to be nuance between these characters, so
one
I think it's
thing.
also. Oh, sorry.
No, you're chill, Dom. I was just gonna say like one thing I actually really love as well as like how they connect is the drama. Like in episode 5, I hate to jump around, but I'm just gonna use this as just a reference point and then jump back to 2 because that it goes from the thing that I'm thinking is Zoro and Nami like Nami trying to get to know Zoro and then within like the next day when he's gonna fight Mihawk trying to talk him down because she thinks he's being really stupid
mhm.
when really like he's just doing what he believes in, even if he has to die for it. And Nami, somebody who's been trying to survive her whole life, doesn't understand like dying for something as simple as a dream, because in her mind she's already, after what's happened to her, she's already thrown that away. The thought of her ever having a dream has kind of been thrown out the window. She's not living like to live, she's living to survive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think they really did a good job with that in the 7th and 8th episodes, I think, where they showed that she really didn't have much of a childhood. I think that really helps drive the point home.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's up, TD? I didn't notice you joined. That was very quiet.
Yeah, no, I just slid in quietly. I'm good.
Yeah. It also parallels, because I was going to go back, as I said, I'm going to 5, then I'm going to 3 or 2, where it goes into how like they both clash with like Luffy, where Luffy's so trusting of people and she doesn't understand that either, because she hasn't been, again, it's like I said, she hasn't been like living for herself. She hasn't been living to her fullest. The idea is now she's like trapped and can't really like flesh out who she wants to be. She's just being what she has to be,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
which is
And also a
what's
big
been
part of
holding her
that
back.
is, I was gonna say, like, a big part of that is also like due to her having to make so much money. Obviously, as we see, she's had to steal a lot. She's had to swindle people. That obviously, having to do that at an incredibly young age, throughout like most of Nami's life. It obviously, I think the show does a good job of showing how it's made her like so distant from people.
Yeah, and I think they do a good job in the first episode just introducing her to the audience. Like the way that they do it is, all right, we're gonna have her trick these pirates right here, take advantage of them being very confident or wanting to flatter her initially. They take advantage of that, and then she takes advantage of that, and then she's able to steal the stuff from their ship, and it kind of shows us like, yeah, this is how she's been surviving. This is the skill set that we should expect from her, which later translates into the sequence with Axe and Morgan when they're at the Marines base.
I also love how we're given like a sense of like distrust with her, like at the beginning, where we're supposed to it's like the director wants the audience to keep a lookout for Nami, where it's like, should we really trust her, or is she just gonna like backstab us like any second chance she gets, which she has considered doing, as shown in episode 2,
Mm-hmm.
when she throws up the hat and tries to leave the circus tent with everyone else behind. But the more it makes you want Nami to trust them. It makes you want Nami to like be a part of the crew. But deep down, they kind of hinted something else is going on behind the scenes with her, which is preventing her from like being like growing to be trustworthy. Like even if she wants to trust them, she can't. She literally cannot.
Yeah, like with the knowledge of what she's actually doing with Arlong, when I'm rewatching it, I think it helps a lot that there was a lot of setup in the earlier episodes for it. What I'd also say is that I feel like the show was trying to make it clear that like even when we learn that she has something extra going on, a point that they try to drive home is that she would have her reasons. She wouldn't just do that out of the blue. She wouldn't just backstab them. And I think it works because that's the kind of character that Luffy is. He just wouldn't believe in that. He's very optimistic. He tries to see the best in people. So I think the way that they tried to I guess keep us in suspense, but also how they handled the reveals, I think it worked pretty well.
Especially since at this point, like Luffy thinks that he knows Nami after only being with her for a couple days. Like one of the like character traits that can both be a weakness for him and a strength is how attached he gets to people, like over something as short as a simple interaction of eating at at like a dining table.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
it
he
really
tries to
shows
like see the good in everyone to his own
Yeah.
fault sometimes.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
would
not
say
only okay, one at a
Yeah,
time,
sorry.
guys. Now you're chill. All right,
No, I
I'll
was
finish
just
up.
saying.
Then DeLorean.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, yeah. You
Alright,
finished first. Yeah.
You're chill. You're chill.
Should have got the whip.
Because-
No.
I thought I was gonna go next, but it's okay.
Well, no, I didn't finish. TD kind of cut me off a little bit.
Sorry,
Yeah,
man.
finish.
All right. Compose.
Finish your
Everybody
point.
compose. Yeah. So something as simple as eating over a dining table, where not only does it like most people would just be kind of casual about that, like, oh yeah, see ya. No, Luffy has kind of like that was a bonding experience for Luffy. Like you are his friend, like which is shown all the way up in episode 6 and 7, where he's literally willing to fight like to the death for you.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I really liked when they presented, they have the chance to escape from Arlong and get the hell out of there, or stay with the restaurant and protect all the people in there. And Nami wants to leave, like that's her instinct, like I want to get out of here. And Luffy's like, nope, we're staying here, we're helping out. I thought that was done very effectively. And I also like how it ties back to, Sanji's whole motivation, his whole ideology. If I see a hungry man, I have to feed him. I think it ties together very well thematically. And yeah, I think that was one of the highlights of that episode.
Yeah, DeLorean, you were gonna go next. I'm sorry.
No, on the point of Luffy seeing the good in everyone, I think for Nami's case, it was more so that he was there to see how she genuinely felt about everyone in episode 5, when Zora's about to leave to go fight Mihawk. She was there like, I don't want you to go because you're my friend and all that. Luffy was there to see all that, so that I think there's more reason to believe that Nami couldn't have possibly betrayed them.
Mhm.
It's not just about Luffy seeing the good in people. So I just wanted to add on with that.
Yeah, that's also true. Because another thing that's kind of awesome about that is like not only with Luffy trying to find out like how like the built up trust and seeing the real side of Nami, but also just his attitude with wanting to go track Nami down. It's kind of infectious among the crew, even though the crew have again their own reasons. Because as Luffy trusted her like over the course of a couple days as the captain, the others followed suit since they were all on the same voyage together. So they would have saw the same things that the captain saw and saw her grow over time, which
Yeah.
led to them being like, well, nah, I don't really buy that you're just leaving because you don't like you hate us. That's not how that works.
Almost forgot to go over this. Thank you for the 5, Larry. I overall enjoyed the show and liked the changes. It could use another episode or two because certain characters like Usopp were underutilized.
That's
I
good-
disagree with
that's a
that.
good
Usopp
topic.
being under. Oops, sorry.
No, I'm just
I thought
saying like
Usopp
that's a
was
good
utilized
topic.
pretty well. Yeah, but that would be an interesting
Yeah, I was
topic.
gonna say
yeah.
that.
How do
Hmm.
we think of
Although
guess
I
my
think I
question would
would
be-
maybe like. Oops, sorry.
No, you were going first, actually.
I would have maybe liked 2 episodes. I think with this season, it honestly like cuts down the West Blue saga very well. That we didn't really need.
East.
East Blue Wrong Sea.
God damn it! You know what? That's
Damn
why.
it,
Thank you,
Dom!
Mike. That's why you're
Alright.
here.
Yeah, no
But yeah, I
problem.
think it really did do the arc very well. I think if anything, hopefully next season has more episodes because Alabasta covers a lot. Although we're not gonna talk about that. Talk about season 2 that much. At least I don't know how much we're gonna talk about it. But if
Honestly,
anything, I
I
hope that
thought
gets more episodes.
I thought 8 episodes was great for this season.
Mhm.
I'm not. I don't mind that we didn't get 10 episodes. To be honest, like I thought they covered everything they needed to do, established all the characters, all the conflicts, all the through lines, the payoffs. I thought everything they ended on with 8 was good enough. So I don't necessarily agree that we needed 10 episodes. Although if for the next seasons or like for the future seasons, I think they could do 10 if they wanted to. Although I'm pretty fine if they even chose to alternate between 8 and 10 depending on the amount of things they want to cover. So really, yeah.
Yeah, I think like it honestly in my just as an opinion, I really wouldn't even mind if if like the next season's 8 episodes were this like of this quality, I wouldn't even mind if they skipped islands that would be kind of useless. Like say like Whiskey Peak, even though they would probably have to do something like that, but you can introduce bounty hunters another way. Like I wouldn't mind if they skipped islands or fuck it, made new islands, just like created up new entire story points. Speaking of which, because I was originally going to bring up the Usopp plot point and why like what it means for him to be underutilized, like what it means, but since we're talking about like completely new plot points, I kind of want to bring up Garp because I think that was also really well handled. I love that arc.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
love Arc. I love Garp in this. I know a lot of people were
We love
like,
Garp.
some people were divided on that, I think, online. But personally, I love how they introduced Garp early. I love the early relationship with Luffy and seeing how much, like, it's an overall theme throughout this entire season. But after the death of Roger, the new generation is starting. And, right before Garp's eyes, it's starting to write again.
They did really well with Garp and Kobe. The rewatch made me think differently. I was more mixed, more positive, but more mixed. But like, I thought, yeah, on the second watch, I thought they did a great job establishing the differences, in philosophies from Kobe's point of view, how he feels about the shady things that the Marines are doing. For example, bringing in a warlord to take care of Luffy, and the fact that they're like siding with pirates and doing letting them do whatever they want, and how Kobe feels about it, and the little talk that they had about it. I thought the Garp thing was definitely one of the stronger points of the season, if I'm
Yeah.
fully being honest.
Definitely.
I really
And-
love
My favorite
that
thing
scene.
about Garp was having him be present for Gold Roger's execution and being the one that caught him and took him there to begin with.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
I thought something that really stood out was how he talked about the promotions that he always refused. He never wanted to take them because he knew
Yeah.
that he
I
couldn't
love
be
that
true.
scene.
Yeah, yeah, because he knew he couldn't be true to himself if he were to accept that, and he would have to do things that he would consider, corrupt or immoral in order to keep that position. So that just tells us
See,
he's not
that's-
even fully on board with the whole Marines and everything that they do.
That's something I particularly like a lot because he drops the word freedom in that conversation, and you're reminded that he and Luffy are more similar than you think, even
Yeah.
if they're a marine and a pirate, right? So, yeah, that's another great.
It kind of helps justify
Gar-
like why he would want to let Luffy go by the end. Like obviously he's conflicted, but it would tell you, why would he want to test Luffy to make sure he's really, full of himself for the dream that he's pursuing, that he's really confident in it.
I also like how
Right.
they actually address, like, because then the question comes up, it's like, oh, you don't like corruption. What are you doing working for the Marines? And it's like, yeah, Luffy obviously brings up that it's like, oh, well, there's good Marines and there's bad, but the system as a whole has a lot of reworking to be done, which is like one of the reasons Luffy's a pirate, because there's a lot more freedom in that, which makes sense because you can fight back. Whereas Garp is a Marine. They address that because it's like, oh, well, as in this position of power, I can use this to influence and maybe possibly change the system from within. But he doesn't want to get too close because then he's just taking orders from the higher ups that are absolutely corrupt, like you said, which is a
Yeah.
very interesting point that kind of like settles between. It's like not military propaganda at that point because it's not just like Garp is just in the military because it's cool to be in the military. Like we actually have a reason,
Mhm.
like a reason to have that level of power and want to do good.
Absolutely, yeah. I think Garp, talking about how he feels it's like a necessary compromise that he has to make, that, there's the only thing really standing between anarchy um and being able to secure the seas is the Marines really. He sees it as kind of a necessary level of corruption in order to just have order. So I thought that was really interesting that they went into that.
It's actually kind of funny because it makes you question the main character more, where it's like, is being a pirate really like the way that you want to go? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're free, but are you really changing the world, or are you just allowing like more terrible people to be in like to be able to do what they want and get away with it?
Exactly. It's why he didn't want him to be a pirate in the first place. It's part of the reason.
Yeah.
Why even as a kid he pushed him so hard just to become a Marine, and yeah, sorry,
That
I was gonna
probably
mention stuff,
drew
but probably not. Probably shouldn't.
that probably drew Luffy closer to being a pirate. The amount he was pushing him towards being a Marine, right? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
hmm Especially like considering all like the wait, never mind. I shouldn't say that. That's right. Almost caught myself slipping there.
Just like
Those
me.
kind of stuff delving into the anime.
Yeah. I know I said I wouldn't, so I'm keeping my promise. I'm not.
I know I've been
Gotta
trying so hard.
I gotta keep myself on a tight leash. But yeah, like oh my god, another great one with that is how we see the two different. Because in a way that you think about it, Luffy and Kobe are parallels down different paths because of what they believe in. And I love how like while Luffy being on the opposing side of Kobe in terms of like where they fit in the world or where they want to be, he still helps Kobe realize who he wants to be and opens his eyes to like the world is not being so black and white like Alvida kept him on that ship for, which is kind of like what, insulated him. Like he was under a rock basically when he was on that ship. All he knew was that Alvida was the greatest and nothing else. But the more like he was brought out to the other like islands and towns in East Blue, the more he started to realize that like he himself, like even the fact that like Marines could be bad was just a fucking that was a fairy tale to him. He didn't know that that was a possible because he thought that Marines were supposed to be just. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's what they're just because something's supposed to be a certain way doesn't mean it is. It's all about the
Right.
people upholding the mantle, which
Yeah, that's
was
a part
really fucking cool as a parallel because then you see Luffy going down the path of like wanting to like having to possibly do bad terrible things like from his POV like stealing, and then you have Kobe having to justify why he wants to do good things, which is it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
neat as a parallel.
Yeah, I absolutely love having Kobe along with this, and kind of like with Luffy, we learn a lot more about the world, and we see like Luffy and Kobe both like learn and grow and kind of develop their own like ideals and beliefs and how to handle the world
hmm
situations.
Yeah. Should we move on to the next topic of whether or
Yeah,
not
yeah, let's
Usopp
go
was
for it.
underutilized?
Yeah, yeah.
Because one thing I want to ask is like what makes Usopp underutilized and how would he be utilized more? Like
Yeah.
what would the show have him do is my question. Like cuz I didn't think he was underutilized cuz I really don't see how he would do more.
I feel like episode 3 did a really good job introducing him. Episode 3 and 4. They did a really good job introducing him and his backstory and why, he's, always talking about, the pirates are coming, the pirates are coming. It's some kind of thing that, obviously people won't believe him. The villain even takes advantage of that. We do get an interesting explanation for why he keeps saying that over and over again. Um, and this is just a common thing in general too. I like how they always go back to when these characters were younger, um, and why their dreams are the ways that they are, or why their like fears or why their desires in general, like or their motivations in general, like what sets them that whole direction, which we can get into later, of course, with the other characters. But I thought with Usopp, like he still stayed true to that pattern of the show that they were going for. Um, so I don't know. I think he was utilized pretty well in that regard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I'm
Go
a
ahead.
really big fan of. Oops, sorry, you're gonna say something.
No, I just said go ahead.
Oh, I'm a really big fan of the Syrup Village like arc. That's sort of for me where like at least for the manga, I loved One Piece. I was dead set from there on. Like, and I really loved the previous arcs, of course, but arcs, but that one made me love One Piece and love Usopp really a lot. But I think with how the show did it, I really loved how Usopp's, he's very much still like, a liar. He's a grand storyteller. He's a lot more like down to earth. Like he's very like, he talks a lot with, Luffy and stuff and tries to um be very like just helpful and sort of be who he wants to be, I guess. You know.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely toned down Usopp, just like they did with Luffy in comparison with the manga. That's for sure.
Well, yeah,
Mhm.
just like how they did with Sanji too.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially
that changed for the
that
better.
one makes sense though. That one makes sense though.
Yeah,
I
no,
get that.
definitely.
Dude,
And at least in my
time,
opinion, it makes me love Sanji even more. It's,
dude, every
uh,
time I see
oh, when we
Sanji
get
on
to Sanji,
screen,
I'm gonna love
I'm
talking about him.
I'm always
Alright,
hungry when I
talk
see
at
him on
once.
screen. Like that, and I think that's a good thing to the
I mean,
show,
I
'cause
am
it's
too,
like,
but probably for the different reasons you are, SK.
Bro's just a good
oh,
cook.
really? Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, that's
Hey,
the thing.
yo.
Like, the show wants to tell us that this guy, he is one of the best cooks like out there in like in the maybe the whole scene. I don't fucking know. But like, yeah, they're trying to tell you, yeah, he is one of the best cooks, and I'm already like convinced by it. Like they show us how delicious
the
all
act,
of this
the
looks. Like,
the act, the actor, yeah,
learned to
actually
cook.
trained cooking for it.
Yeah, he
damn,
cooked for the cast on set, and I think that really helps. And massive props to whoever plays Sanji. That was
absolutely.
fucking.
Yeah,
That was
Taz
fucking.
had people because he knew the pain of starvation, which he would never wish on his worst enemy.
Yeah, he's felt
Which
like the
is like
worst of it,
yeah,
and so
which is
did
like
Zev.
yeah, who has been like
Ate his
Sanji's
own leg.
mentor. Yeah, which what was I saying? Yeah, which has like led Sanji down this path of like neutrality with it, with cooking, where it's like he's not like he'll feed the bad people, like people who are awful and people who are like could be the kindest people on the planet. He doesn't care. He's just that's just like his moral code. He doesn't want anybody to starve.
Mm-hmm. I thought
But
the
also,
motif
even
of
if you're
food in that
bad, he'll just kick the
episode.
shit out of you.
Yeah, I thought the motif
If you
of like
disrespect
constant
food, he'll
uses of
definitely kick the shit
food
out
through
of
that
you.
episode really helped with that.
Yeah. Okay. 6 and 7. This is the fun part.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
SK, since like this is leading into some of your favorite episodes, I'll let you start off with 6, 7, and 8.
Oh well, yeah. 6, 7, and 8. There's a ton to talk about. I guess one of the things that stands out to me the most, it's more so leads into the 7th and 8th episodes, but I thought Arlong was an interesting character. Um, and by the 8th episode, I think I decided, yeah, this dude is one of my favorite villains in fiction. Because like at first
Okay.
he presents himself as like, okay, I hate humans. I want, I'm better than humans. And it's like, okay, what? He seems like a very like textbook racist character at the moment. I wonder if there's anything more to that. But then we learn a little bit more through how he talks with his peers, his fellow fishmen, where he's like, yeah, we've suffered for many years under the hands of humans. They've treated us poorly. So because of that, I want to get back at them. I want to stay on top and
Yeah,
use
it's an
this as a
aspect that
justification.
Sorry.
No, you're good. And use that as a justification for the actions that I'm doing to stay in power. I thought that was very interesting to learn about from Arlong.
It's more of like a revenge setting, as
Yeah.
opposed to just like. I feel like like the way that they handle racism in this one, like as opposed to it being like overlooked completely and not even being like called out, like how they handle King Shark in the Wonder Woman
Oh
dynamic in
God.
the Suicide Squad, which is kind of wild 'cause that's supposed to be from one of the heroes, by the way. But the way that they
Yeah.
handle it, they have like
Wait,
it
what?
doesn't only we don't only get like just like wordplay from Arlong. Like it's shown to have like historical evidence. Like when Arlong walks into the Bratier, and he kind of like he's like looking at the the guy who sits people when you walk into a restaurant. He was a fishman, and you're like, you're really just gonna sit here and serve the same like humans that have been stepping on us for so long. Like, do you have any self-respect? Do you care at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
And
love that interaction.
yeah, that the way that they like show it I think there were even a couple signs like about fishmen in like in Shellstown too. I remember noting that there was a couple like no
Yeah,
fishmen
there
allowed.
were.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was really
yeah, I
fucking
remember.
interesting. They had a lot better like world building in terms of like, because it had like obviously hindsight's 2020, but I think that's like, I feel like that's why people need to open up about live action remakes, is because it's not
Yeah.
a genre problem, it's a studio problem.
It's an
Like-
execution problem, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, look at
Yeah.
Avatar: The
Yeah.
Last Airbender.
Dom, I think you were confused on the Wonder Woman comparison. I can give you context on it. It's
Oh, God.
it's really
You know,
bad.
I
you
just
can
played.
figure
I
it
just
out.
played
I
that
don't know anything
section
about
last
the
night. I
game.
just played that section last night. Oh,
let's
fucking
not-
hell!
let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
unpack it.
Hate this stream.
Let me unpack this real quick. All right. So
Oh.
obviously in the One Piece show, they acknowledge, if you were to just discriminate against like fishmen like that, that's fucking wrong. Obviously, that's bad, and that's racist, right? So King Shark brings up an interesting point. Not saying that King Shark's correct, of course, but he says, should we really keep the Justice League alive when they're under this mind control? Because how many innocent lives will suffer as a result of keeping them alive? And he's suggesting that their lives have to be sacrificed. And to that perfectly legitimate point that he makes, Wonder Woman's just like, I will not take a lecture on morality from a shark. And I'm just like, what? What?
Wait, what?
What? What is wrong with you?
What?
She's a fucking racist. Because that, in context in the DC universe, that is King Shark's like kind. That's their race.
That
I just
doesn't
never
make
followed.
me like
Wait, is it not?
you're
Is
this
it not
instead of like
followed
his
up?
actual argument.
One at a time, guys.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think Dom was going.
Yeah, that's a weird way.
I
Yeah, no,
don't
that's
know.
just such a stupid way to respond. It's not even funny. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
weird.
It's just racist, and I was
Doesn't-
looking at that, and I immediately thought of One Piece. It's like, dude, this is what created people like Arlong. This is what pissed him off.
Well, it's also just weird because it's supposed to be coming from the heroes that we aspire to be, and it's just
Yeah,
like
Wonder Woman's
these
not,
are the
like,
people that serve and protect
mindful, right?
everybody in like Metropolis, right?
Yeah,
And I'm supposed to think that they don't take counsel because like, oh well, you're just a shark. What do you know? It's like, okay, wow, that is not only dismissive, but the fact that the story completely looks over that and isn't using that as like kind of condemnable.
yeah,
Like I'd honestly, I would have been fine with it if that was actually just used as like a critique of the heroes. Like you guys are just so over your little fucking power trip that you start to think that you can just walk over and dismiss everyone because you think you know what's best, which is
Yeah.
not fucking okay. But no,
Okay.
they say it once and then move on to the next scene like it's nothing. They treat it like it was a quip,
yeah.
which is like okay, that's like fucked up.
Not a great one.
But
But
yeah.
that's enough for Kill the Justice League. We'll have a longer conversation about that.
yeah, say that for your own stream. I just wanted to touch on it because it was relevant.
Yeah.
Because this is we're talking about how different pieces of media treat racism,
Mm-hmm.
which
But I thought this one did it
mean-
like very well.
Yeah.
What was I going to mention? No, that's it. Actually, go on.
okay.
Oh, I mean, I like Nezu's interaction with Arlong when he mentions Jinbei and how Jinbei is like an example of fishman working with humans properly, and then bro gets really fucking mad and is like, Jinbei's a fucking dumbass serving humans. Right before he
Implying history and shit like that.
Mhm.
Just one like on that topic, I love how like obviously it's shown as wrong, but they like Arlong has a very clear you're either with us or against us type mentality. Like even though like being willing to like kill his own fish mankind if they're not gonna stand with him, like how he saw that like dine-in waiter at the Baratier. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And his silence is just like, "All right, well, whatever. You can go fucking kiss the shoes of humans all you like. I don't really care. I'm here to like liberate." He thinks he's like liberating people and getting back,
Yeah.
when really he's just causing more suffering.
I think it's just
Which-
willfully like deluding himself, and he's willing to do this because he wants the power, he wants to stay in control.
He likes it, like deep down. Like it's not even deep down. He's very open about like enjoying killing humans.
Yeah.
He really he's giving himself a power trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's finally now that the shoe's on the other foot, he's enjoying his position.
It's not even just killing. He enjoys them being in a form of suffering a lot. Especially what he does to Nami. She had all that money ready for him, and then he just gets the Marines to steal it, and then acts like, "Oh well, I didn't do it. It was the Marines." Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bro, it's
Definitely,
just a
Arlong
sadist.
mentions like
I find it.
he was using
Oh,
like
my
a
bad,
human
Tom.
trick. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
No,
was
no,
just
you were
playing like
going. Dom was going.
Yeah, Arlong mentions he was like using a human tactic, which is like very
yeah,
much showing like Arlong's superiority and is kind of like distancing himself from like his actions of like, oh, well, humans are all awful. I'm just, I'm a fishman. I'm, that sort of thing.
This is an example of what your kind has been doing, by the way. I'm not doing it
Mhm.
because I'm not doing it. I'm showing you what they used to do, like kind of an
Mhm.
excuse to get
Yeah.
away. And when it's like, no, you're inflicting it on me. Another thing that's kind of shown is like how he'll literally go out of his way to like scare and intimidate when he doesn't have to. Which the more I've thought about it, like what's it called, with the entire buggy situation when
Mm.
they were gonna go
Mm.
track down the Straw Hats afterwards. Because the more I think about it, he had other ways of finding the Straw Hats, but because of how scared Buggy was of Arlong, he decided to use him like a pawn to make him suffer a little bit. Like the thought that he's going to die, like the fact that he's not all in one piece, that he's only a head, just like floating around in a bag. It's like, yeah, it was useful, but it also, like, Arlong not only doesn't need
Yeah.
to, but it gives him satisfaction of having dominance over humans again.
I love the
Yeah.
moment where he reveals that Buggy was following because he has eyes and ears everywhere. He's like, "Yeah, I heard everything because you shitiots have no idea what you're doing." That's another
Funny
thing.
as
I love
shit.
the humor in this show. The humor's great.
Yeah, Buggy's
Mhm.
actor does such a great job as him. Just
in
knocks out of the park
SK,
every scene.
SK, that same episode where Buggy reveals that he had a ear inside the hat, right? There's also another point of humor that I really liked, and that's when the battle is going on inside the Baratier, and the one of the tables flip, and there's Usopp under there just hiding there. It's so I love little moments like that, and it's sprinkled throughout the first season. I thought they also did a great job with that.
Yeah, yeah. I similarly liked the part where he stood up to like one of the fish people. I can't remember his name. But like he no one was around to see it, but like he totally kicked his ass and
Mm.
outsmarted him. That was like yeah, that was a
Chew,
great
the fishman that
yeah,
Usopp fought.
yeah, that one.
Mhm.
That one.
Yeah. I also love
Yeah,
how they really did that fight all around with somebody who wasn't as like superhuman as say Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy.
Mhm.
Because like the way that they had to like find a way to to outsmart the fishmen by using fire to his advantage. That's the one thing that's actually kind of like interesting about Usopp fight scenes. It's not like very action based. It's more cunning and kind of gag in a way based.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tactical gags. Yeah.
It shows that he's
it's
more than
very
just
much like
like,
one of Usopp's.
Oh yeah, go on.
Who-
Go on.
It's very much like one of Usopp's like many strengths is just he's so like tactically smart. Like
Yeah.
he's not just a sniper because he doesn't want to like get in a fight. It's a tactical position and ability.
Yeah, and I think what's great is that they show when they show his worth to the team, it doesn't come down to do you have this ability, do you have this fighting skill or whatever it is, do you have this weapon. It really comes down to he's smart, he has a good heart, and he's willing to when it counts, he puts himself on the line. And I think they did a great job showing that.
Well, it's like it reminds me of like one thing I find annoying, like when we get into power scaling, obviously. Not annoying power scaling, obviously.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the thing that separates One Piece fights from like your regular like shonen manga is ulterior motive. A lot of the times that can be like what dictates a fight between somebody who would easily kick this person's ass in a fair fight versus like somebody who just shouldn't be standing a physical chance at all,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like what Usopp and Nami fights are all about. Because that like hell, you can be on the crew and not even be a fighter, like theoretically. Like you could be on the like that's kind of like what Nami is a fighter, obviously. But even if she wasn't, like that's the interesting thing about like One Piece and its cast. Everyone has a specific detail and it's not just fighting. It could be something as simple as just being the archaeologist that tells us where we are or how to navigate the land. You could be the cook that like feeds the entire ship.
Let him cook.
I think the only role that would have to like be good at fighting in some like sort of fashion would have to be either the swordsman or the captain. And even then, the captain still could just be a really good leader.
Yeah.
It,
I
But-
think Luffy absolutely like in this throughout the show. I think he did earn the title of captain throughout, and I think the crew coming together by the end. I think that was definitely earned.
yeah, it's also
Yeah.
like he's captain for a different reason. Like he might not be good at commanding everybody or like telling them what to do or even knowing what to do, but he has the heart to back up what he says, and he'll fight like it's like I said earlier. He will fight to the death for his crewmates. He doesn't leave anybody behind.
Mm-hmm.
He tries to. He doesn't really. It's not that he keeps everyone in check. It's just that he's like out there like looking out for everybody. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a good job with Kuro, where like, where with his two underlings, he very much is in charge. They're scared of him. Kuro mentions when he's talking to Luffy, like, I've had to kill plenty of my crew, and Luffy just is like, no, like, why would you kill like your crew? They're your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're supposed to be the captain.
Yeah.
And Kuro's just like they're not even really my friends. They're just kind of people I
They're
like
tools
work
for Kuro
with.
to
They're
use.
literally like I would consider them employees if I considered them people like type shit.
Mm-hmm. Amazon.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, that's kind of true. But
Oh no.
yeah, it's back on. I guess now that you mention it, like with Syrup Village, because one thing I actually do like is the investigative skills. Wait, actually, now that I think about it, the entire interaction between Garp and Luffy at the end, where he tracks him down, and we have like reasons why characters who would initially like kill the Straw Hats aren't, like with when they hire Mihawk to go get him, like everything, like even Luffy's kind of thinking it's like, huh, like I think my uncle's coming after me. I like this a guy this strong has been looking for me and isn't killing me. I think Garp might be on my tail,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
kind of leads up to the final thing at Kokoyashi, where we have the final standoff where Garp has no one else intervene and just wants to fight Luffy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, that fight was so fucking good. I'm running out of things to talk about. Actually, that's kind of weird. We covered a lot
Well,
in
we
such
did.
a short time.
God damn, we did. I think something that is worth talking about. I guess if we're to jump around a little bit, but I think throughout the course of the season, there's a clear progression of Nami seeing things in a very black and white perspective. Just in general, not just on pirates, but also like with the rich, for example. Um, or just the idea of whether or not she can make friends, or if she has to choose between making friends or not hurting people. um I think yeah, at the beginning, obviously we talked about how she gets to know Luffy and all the other people on the crew. But I think what we haven't talked about is how she gets to know Kaya in episodes 3 and 4,
Yeah.
where initially the plan is what the hell? Initially, the plan is to steal from the house, thinking, yeah, she's already got enough, and I don't like rich people anyway. They hold on to this stuff all the time. Um, she's under the impression they don't really seem to care about anybody. They don't have their own problems or stuff like that. And then, she later learns that Kaya's actually been sick for quite a while, and would gladly give away her stuff. Like, she's like, yeah, you can steal it, that's fine. Um, because what good is it to her if she can't like share it with the world? She gets a more nuanced perspective rather than the assumptions she had going into the experience.
Mhm. Also, I like how like before, like even Nami and Kaya like have that like little interaction in the room. We get the scenes of like Kaya letting everybody like like borrow like a bunch of clothes. I mentioning like the house is like really quiet, it's empty. Kaya, it's not necessarily like Kaya is just rich and she has all this stuff because he's rich. It's just she's alone.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody else to give it to.
I have all this stuff, but in the condition I'm in, it's practically useless in my hands.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of sad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, huh, weird. I ran out of notes.
Damn.
Shit.
Damn, I still got a lot more. That's
Still got
that's
a lot
shocking.
That's funny as shit. We should start off your notes then. What do you
Yeah,
have left?
so mine was generally in chronological order. I did talk about how in episode 1 it introduces the world government, and I think that's just a good place to start off, to just basically, set the world, set the setting for us to understand. I thought that was effective. They talk about, I have the One Piece out there. It's free for anybody to take. Um, and they do establish that they do a lot of world building when it comes to learning about the landscape, the pirates, the constant challenges you're supposed to be running into. Basically, they make it very clear if you want to go after the One Piece or even just be a pirate in general, everywhere you go, you're probably gonna bump into enemies. I think bumping into Buggy the Clown was a really good starting point to establish that. Um, I thought everything to do with Buggy was like simply put, it was a whole lot of fun. Buggy is a very he's not a super complex villain, as I understand. Maybe not now, at least. But for what he was, he was very entertaining to watch. He's very clearly, full of himself. He wants to take over these people, basically take over their lives so he can feel good about himself, so he feels like he has an audience, so he can feels like he's being applauded. Um, and I thought that was interesting. Um, I thought the fight with him, how they played on how cocky he was with his abilities. I thought that was a neat way to outsmart him. Um, and I still like how they basically they kind of call back to that, where it's like uh Buggy wasn't he's not finished with them. He actually did stick an ear inside of Luffy's hat, so he knew ahead of time, if shit goes south, I've got a plan.
Yeah, like a lot of these characters, like it makes it feel like the protagonists aren't alone. Like it doesn't feel like they're just standing above everybody. It feels like people are catching up to them, like they're getting in situations that they were not prepared for at
Hmm.
specific events. Like, they end up like just barely making it out of, like the
Yeah.
Buggy thing. It doesn't feel like they're just walking all over East Blue,
Hmm.
which is like not a problem I have with the manga, but it's a good change of pace
Yeah.
where it's like,
Uh,
what's up?
I was gonna say, what I really like about Buggy's whole thing is the parallel between him and Luffy, where Buggy wants people to smile, but he wants them to smile because that's what he wants, not what they want. Like he wants to force people to smile and applaud, that he wants to be loved. And Luffy kind of wants the same thing. Like he wants people to smile, but he wants people to smile off their own free will. He wants to make people laugh because that's what they want. And I love that parallel between kind of like what you get if Luffy was wasn't as kind as he is, like an evil, I guess simplified evil version of Luffy.
Yeah, yeah, and I also like how they tied Shanks into their that little parallel they have, because Shanks,
Mhm.
I think, told him something similar that he told Luffy, about uh, something about being responsible with you know, do you want to be a pirate because, you want to do the right thing, or are you just seeking for recognition? Are you just trying to crowd please? That's something that they talk about. It's a flaw that Luffy runs into in his introduction as a child, where they show him, like with Shanks, he wants to be a pirate so bad because he wants to be have his name on the wanted poster. He wants all the recognition and glory that comes with that. And Shanks is like, no, that's not what it's about, or at least shouldn't be what it's about. So I thought that was interesting to look at, and we obviously know that Buggy's not a reliable narrator when he talks about, Shanks. He mistreated me. He was unfair to me. Obviously, we know that's full of crap based on the flashbacks that we get.
Yeah, another like cool thing is like when Shanks is like, nah, he's kind of like hinting at the entire thing about being a pirate is like kind of the journey. Like when he's like, yeah, Luffy, you gave yourself that scar. You didn't really earn it. That doesn't mean anything. Like that's got the fact that you just stabbed yourself. Like you didn't really earn it to say. There's no story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Like what did you just learn other than don't stab yourself in the eye? If you're gonna want to like be a pirate and be on the wanted poster and do all this other stuff, you got to go out there and like create events, make your name well known, not just stab yourself in the eye, walk around and say that you're a pirate and you love like adventuring, but you don't do half that shit.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
time
you
to
gotta
like
earn
be
that.
real and like you gotta put your
Mhm.
foot forward. You don't want to just, which is kind of like a good idea. Like it's kind of cool when you have like the very opposite of that lesson come in, like the bandits who are just they just take and they steal and they don't really care. They just enforce power. They don't have there's nothing great about them other than they just could kill everybody. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really earning anything. They're just stealing, which is actually kind of a cool parallel to Luffy in Syrup Village. What he doesn't want to steal because he hates bandits. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? Said you had other notes.
Yeah. I guess another thing about Shanks that I like is the send off that they have when he's about to leave and he's giving his final words to him. Um, I really liked that. I thought it was very heartfelt. I liked how he ended it off by giving him the straw hat. He says, be good, Luffy, and that really tells us why Luffy's very invested in keeping that hat. It shows us why, when there's the map on the floor and there's the hat on the floor, why he immediately just goes for the hat. There's a very clear emotional attachment to that. And, because they did such a good job making us care about Shanks, um, I think that helps us connect with Luffy on that level.
They also did a great job with the whole poster thing that Luffy has to earn a poster. And in episode one, when they arrive at Shellstown, they see a bunch of different posters, right? And they use that of course, to foreshadow different people that Luffy will eventually meet. But they also highlight the fact that Luffy desperately wants his own poster, and of course, by episode 8, he fully earns it, and
Yeah.
we see how Shanks even reacts to it, which is also one of my favorite. I think that might be my favorite Shanks scene, honestly, the one where he interacts with Mihawk, and yeah, great stuff there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
really
Absolutely.
love
think
Mihawk
I
being like,
think
"Aren't
that
you all
series.
drunk?" And
one
all
at
of
a
them were like,
time.
"Fuck it, we're just gonna drink anyways," because Luffy's got a
I,
poster.
I think that series of scenes with all the different people Luffy's met on his way reacting to his wanted poster is my favorite scene of the whole show.
Yeah, it was
I love
great.
it
Yeah.
so much.
I thought that like in terms of like Shanks as a character, one thing that's kind of cool about him is like at the beginning of the series we're kind of like shown that he's just like the first we're kind of introduced as him to or we're introduced to him as the first pirate that Luffy has met, which is
Mhm.
like at first it doesn't seem like anything great, but then it's like the more the show goes on, his name starts getting thrown around all of East Blue. He's like this big figure, and actually, unironically, is some of the causes for Luffy's problems. It
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
it starts to like it starts to like show how relevant he is to Luffy's entire story, not as just somebody that inspired him to be a pirate,
Mm-hmm.
but as like somebody who affected this great pirate era and actually pit Luffy against some other people so that he can become stronger, that he can go on those journeys that Shanks told him to go on, that he can put himself out there. Like
Honestly,
he is some of the cause for conflict, to be honest, like with Buggy.
that's some
Like
great world
it
building
ties
there
around.
too. When you have like a character that they randomly meet and they're immediately like, "Huh, that straw hat. That looks familiar. That reminds me of this same character that Luffy has a connection to." Like the little pieces like
Mhm.
that, I think does wonders for the world building and understanding um, the effect that Shanks had on this world.
Like, think about
Yeah.
it. Without that straw hat, Luffy and Buggy are literally just complete fucking strangers.
Yep.
They're they
Mhm.
mean nothing to each other.
Yeah.
But there's so much drama that's like drawn between a simple look at a headpiece that somebody's
Yeah.
wearing. That's it. That's
Exactly.
kind of insane. That's actually kind of crazy. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's
I
the
mean,
so
thing
much
even
with this show. It
drama.
ha- it takes it makes use of these little details, but they help tell you a lot about the world or the characters.
Yeah.
Even with Mihawk, when he's about to fight Zoro and he sees Luffy, it's like, "Boy, I do like your hat." It's like, "Oh, so
Yeah.
he knows the hat."
Yeah.
You know, this warlord of the sea, seven strongest pirates, like all the seas, best swordsman in the world, knows Shanks and recognizes Shanks by his hat.
Mm-hmm.
I like your hat. I wouldn't fight him though. Not after that pussy lost his arm. No, that's kind of funny. Oh wait, that's another thing. I love like the swordsman code, like the honor of a swordsman, and they actually like give meaning to being a swordsman rather than just you fight with swords in this show. Like there's an entire
Mhm.
honor code. You can't take a wound to your back. You can't lose your
Yeah.
arm, or else you're not even worth fighting. Like they do so much for Zoro, just like to show honor. Because at this point, like everyone has their own theme going around. Luffy's like freedom. Sanji is like kind of has his own code going on about like starvation and feeding people, being well fed and being healthy. And
Mhm.
like Zoro's is very honor bound, like it's very sticking to your ideals and never like breaking them, like even if it might get you killed.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
and some of them
I
could
have like,
be
oop, sorry.
nah, you're chill. I'll get it. I'll finish it up quick. Kind of like how like even Mihawk recognizes this and is like, you know what? I'll kill you with Yoru, because like that even no matter what, you're still killing someone with a sword or a sharp object, but like they're giving meaning to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like a simple like switch of weapons is given meaning over something as little as a little like skirmish to the death.
Yeah.
Like that they're giving all these like titles and stuff like that. What were you gonna say, Dom? Sorry about that.
Oh yeah, no problem. I was gonna say like Zoro's like introduction, like when we first meet him, I really love what they do of Zoro doing that like little ceremony of all the not candles, uh incense, whatever they're called. I
You know,
really love that bit and that like little fight. It's really great, and I think kind of like what you were talking about, it gives more depth to the whole like swordsman code, what being a swordsman like means to Zoro. Like it's not
Yeah.
just he fights with swords. It like has a very deep, even like spiritual connection to Zoro.
Yeah. And not only that, but it's like the parallel between Zoro when he's just casually going through day to day. He's sleeping everywhere. He's very nonchalant. He doesn't give a fuck. But then once he gets onto the battlefield, he's like super respectful and takes it completely seriously. Like
Mhm.
seeing the character switch on a dime like that because of something that they're passionate about is really engaging with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Another thing I like is how, because of what you said of how spiritual it is, like Zoro doing something as simple as like keeping the sword of his dead friend is shown, like how Luffy is like concealing his hat. Like it means a lot. There's a lot of, what would that be? Would that be symbolism? Kind of like this
Yeah.
symbolizes my fallen friend, or this symbolizes the person that started me on this journey, like the hat and the sword.
Or just their memory of them.
Well, yeah.
Or like a
Well,
promise they
yeah.
made.
It's like, it's symbolic of the promise, yeah. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
I
just
think
in One
that
Piece.
yeah, I think that really helps with like Zoro's whole backstory. That they showed us, why is he so invested in becoming the world's greatest swordsman? Was it just a childhood dream of his, or did he, they showed us it's actually like a promise that he made. It's something deeper than that.
Yeah. This is something he's dedicated his life to because of like a promise he made with somebody, and he takes anything being said, just a simple gesture, which like, yeah, I think that's one thing I love about the show is just that they have the correct body language and like narrative parallels.
Yeah.
I just want to ask SK real quick. What was your reaction like when Mihawk pulled out the little toothpick sword from his necklace?
Oh, I thought it was fucking hilarious because he's like, yeah, you're gonna fight me with that? He's like, yeah, fuck that. Give me a real sword.
That's why he was like and when he was about to get stabbed in the back, he turned around. He's like, "Nah, if you're doing it, I'm looking at you while I die. I will never take a wound to the back.
Mm-hmm.
That's disgraceful."
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about the criticism about that scene where Zoro gets cut? People were like, he didn't bleed enough.
Um.
Are they
Well,
just
like, what's
measuring
the?
it in
I don't
time?
Finding a
really.
river.
Are we measuring the blood? Are we measuring how many liters of blood he spilled?
Yeah, well,
Like in the
I
anime and manga, he obviously loses a lot more blood, but also it's like realism wise, like humans aren't blood bags. If you lose like a ton of blood, you'll just die or
Yeah.
you'll pass out.
so
Like,
they're
Bro, in
saying
anime, people lose like an elephant's worth of blood and they'll still live.
are they saying that like he should have
Hmm.
died from the slashes?
No.
you should have bled
No.
more.
They're
That's what people are saying.
yeah, more blood. Like they think that the scene requires more blood.
I
or
think
something.
you could maybe make a case for like to make it more like visceral or I guess violent. They could have done that, which I mean sure that's fair, I guess. Um but if they're like using it as like a plot criticism, like I don't know. I don't think that's a huge deal. Like I don't think it changes
No, I think
anything.
people were talking about it from a visual standpoint. That's it. I don't think it
Oh
was a
yeah.
plot criticism at all.
Yeah,
No,
I think
it's
it's
because they
fine as
wanted to
like
match the anime more. Because in the anime, when you get slashed, like that, it's like super dramatic. There's like fucking 5 gallons of blood will spurt out of your chest, and it won't kill you. Obviously, it's just a
Mhm.
visual
Yeah.
thing, and it's like, well, why though? But why do they need to do that?
It's just a stylistic thing.
Yeah.
Mm.
I guess I
Yeah,
would
it's,
say
it's
with
not
how
something
like
I care about that much.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
not something I care about that much, but like with how violent the show is willing to be, I'd still say yeah, I think that's a fair point that they could have a little bit more like blood there. A huge deal to me.
It really
Hmm.
just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
I mean that
yeah,
would be interesting. Like
Oh,
what
sorry.
other like what are some like plot or writing criticisms that have been made towards the show?
the only ones that I've seen so far have been like, how did Zoro get knocked out by a bottle that was knocked over his head by somebody who's well strength, which is just basic power scaling. It's like saying it's like the difference between getting hit with a car and the Hulk smashing you with one.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like,
Why
but
does
other than
Goku
that,
get hurt
nothing
when
too
Krillin throws
impressive.
a rock at him? It don't make sense.
Like,
You know what's funny about that, Dom? I thought about it from a Dragon Ball point of view too. Like,
Oh,
remember when characters they knock out other characters by just hitting them on the back of their neck? So it's kind of like that in a way
I
if you think
see.
about it.
Also, it's just a typical thing. If you're not expecting something, you're not going to be really ready to take like a blow, like a
you're
sudden
not
blow.
gonna
Perhaps.
be able to brace
Yeah.
for impact. That's actually one thing that's like in a lot of fights, a lot of people tense their muscles so that their muscles cushion the impact. Obviously, you can't really do that with your head, but this is fucking fiction, so we can fucking make some
We
creative
get
liberties here and
we
there.
get people punched across the bar like fucking 10 feet away. So, I don't know.
Mihawk flipping Zoro's entire body with nothing but a little toothpick sword.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I think it's
Yeah,
very
pretty much.
obvious in One Piece that they're not trying to have any kind of realistic physics there. It's very clearly exaggerated.
Yeah.
In the world they're taking clear
Mihawk
liberties.
cutting bullets in half and cutting
Yeah.
like entire ships in half and shit.
Or just like you have Zoro like literally biting his sword, and it just stays in while he's fighting intensely. It's like yeah, it's clearly not meant to be realistic in that sense.
Luffy punching with fucking after images.
Yeah. And him being able to punch down columns in a
Yeah,
building.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's clearly hyper realistic. Like
Hmm.
it's not meant to be
Or not hyper
one-to-one with
realistic.
like real.
It's just its own universe, simply.
Yeah. Yeah.
It takes place in the 1500s,
Like,
right?
yeah. I bet you're looking back on that like, man,
I mean,
You
it's even
500
funnier.
years from now.
It's even funnier
literally.
to be honest, because I feel like it's kind of
You were gonna say, SK?
yeah.
You're
I
cutting
think.
out.
Oh, I'm cutting. What about now?
Yeah, you're fine now.
Oh yeah, I was basically gonna say like it seems to me like it's something you'd expect in older times, but also uh there's a degree of like they're not like they're more advanced than they were back then, but there's also it's kind of a mixture of like modern and more historical elements, I guess, in terms of like the time period.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and if they do what I think that they're gonna do later on, DeLorean, Dom, and Kronos knows they actually do some like futuristic stuff for individual islands.
Interesting.
kinda
Yeah,
cool.
that is
the
cool.
world
So,
One Piece is
'cause,
really
yeah,
interesting.
How
in
that
terms
how
of
that
how,
works and why it's not integrated into the world government is simply just, oh, it's a world government, and some islands have really rare materials that can be used to like recreate futuristic technology. What's the problem with the world government and an island's worth of resources? You can't supply the world with an island's worth of resources. That's not how that fucking
You
works.
know, I was just thinking about what you said there, and SK won't get this, but I was thinking about Skypiea.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I was thinking about Sabaody.
Okay, yeah, Skypiea, that would probably be like around maybe season 3-ish, probably. So
Water 7.
Water 7, yeah. So yeah, well, to what SK is saying, they do a mixture of like old cultures, architecture, and then modern-ish kind of technology. So that's something really interesting about the One Piece world. That I think, yeah.
You wanna know what's funny about One Piece? If they keep going on, it's kind of implied that a lot of the technology before was more advanced than it is now.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting.
God. If I could just take like an hour to talk about like One Piece's world building, I'd be here
Yeah,
for
I
an
also
hour
broke my
because
promise.
I love
Shit.
its world building. It's like ancient history.
It's evolving, just backwards.
Yeah, live action fans are not ready for what the world becomes in later seasons.
Yeah,
Man.
it goes crazy. Oh my god! I can't wait till they get to the Grand Line, like, cause they're gonna have so much world building to do with that, with all the currents and shit. All right, whatever. I literally just said I wouldn't do this. Okay.
Well, I mean, you mentioned it at the. Well, to be fair, Mike, they do mention it at the end of the
That's
series
fine.
because
A
Nami's
few
like,
teasers
there's a river
here and
going up
there,
the mountain.
fine.
Yeah, I just
So to be
realized
fair,
I'm.
not a super spoiler.
I mean, yeah. I just didn't think it would get me into talking about it. It's just SK saying, well, they have like a mixture.
If it's
like,
not a
yeah,
super spoiler, then that it should be fine. You know,
but yeah.
it's not a
All I'll
huge
say
deal.
is they do explore that thing that SK was talking about even more.
Hmm.
Speaking of teasers, the teaser at the end, I'm not telling who it's teasing, but the teaser at the end, bro, oh my god. I was so hyped.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
I was so hyped.
You know what? Funny thing about that? Now I totally understand why they did Garp in season 1, so that they can focus more on that character in season 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that character.
And actually
That's
have
gonna be
more
I
of
know
a
what
fun.
you're
build up
talking
by
about.
you know when.
Oh shit, Collins is
Oh
here. He
wait,
Yeah.
said
well,
he's
also. Oh yeah, sorry, SK,
Oh,
go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna read this. He said, "Mid-piece, why doesn't One Piece call the Avengers? Are they stupid?"
Good point.
Yeah,
But
good point. It's done.
yeah, I was gonna say, what's it called? Fucking, like you said, DeLorean. Another reason why they had Garp in there is obviously they wanted to somewhat adapt the cover story, but I feel like they just did it so much better, like with Garp's introduction, because he was introduced like way earlier, but he didn't really
Yeah.
have much of a
I
story other
think
than a fucking picture book story.
well, I think it also helps. It also helps for Kobe that he was introduced so much earlier because it helps develop Kobe and Helmeppo.
Yeah, I
I
really
don't
love
talk
what they
much
do
about
with
him, but I
Helmeppo in the
really
show.
liked what they did with Helmeppo.
I think.
Oh
I
yeah,
prefer-
Helmeppo.
I
That's right.
Oh,
I
we
think-
forgot to talk
I
about
think-
Borgy Boy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I think giving Zoro
That's so
a
corny.
potential rival in the Marines, a potential mirror version in the Marines, the same way that Kobe's kind of like a mirror version in the Marines. It's great.
Yeah, like I can't fucking pronounce
Helmeppo.
Helmeppo.
H.
Helmeppo, right? Yeah. Okay, I got it. I
You got
enjoyed him. I enjoyed his presence quite a bit. He wasn't like the most involved in it. He was kept to like a fairly minimal amount of inclusion, but I liked him for what he was. And I liked how he actually, he develops by the end. He becomes better. And
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably due to Kobe's influence and always hanging around with him.
Is it a hot take to say that I prefer Helmeppo and Kobe in the live action?
No, that's illegal. You can't have opinions.
Yeah, that's illegal.
I agree. For the much more.
Why don't you like looking at a still image? That's better.
True.
Why do you like having fucking actors move around and emote rather than a drawing?
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
why vice
Yeah.
versa? Why do you like a drawing? Like what the fuck is
Dude,
it?
that's
Live
what we-
action
I,
bad.
I love how Helmeppo just like all the humor that surrounds him. Like for example, when Zoro's going up to him and then he's
Oh,
like,
shit.
Oh god!
are you gonna
Oh.
kill me? And he's like, no, I'm gonna do something much worse. And he fucking clips his hair.
Fucking naked, throwing his.
Then at the end of the episode,
Oh,
and then the episode where he pulls up, he's like,
hair.
"What's my father? Maybe he'll give me a medal or something." And Kobe just socks him right in the.
Yeah,
So fucking
God,
funny.
I
I
love that
loved
they
him in
made
that show.
Zoro give Helmeppo his manga hair. That's so fucking hilarious.
That is
I
incredible.
I also like that they followed up on Kobe's like whole story not making sense, and Garp interrogates him. I don't think that was in the manga, right? That was not there.
No, different events
No.
happen in the manga because
Mhm.
remember in the manga the Marines were like, oh, as a like a serving of gratitude, like we know you want to be in the Marines. We're not going to say anything because you helped us stop the.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
like that they turned it into a character moment for Kobe. That's a good addition, if I may say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it created more drama and intensity.
Yeah.
It also like made it feel like Kobe had to try harder to earn his place because he's coming from a place of distrust. Nobody's really like, you're kind of sketchy. I don't really know about you. The only reason Axehand Morgan let you in is because like he doesn't suspect you did anything, but I know better. Axehand Moron's an idiot.
Accent moron.
And
I think it's
yeah,
really
I like that. Sorry.
DeLorean was talking.
No, I was just gonna say, speaking of accent moron, I like that moment with Buggy. He tested out that joke and it clearly didn't play out, and he just makes a gesture with his hand, like, oh, okay, whatever.
He's like, it reminds me of that scene from fucking Ted 2, where Ted makes a joke, walks away, thought he heard someone chuckle, turns around, he's like, what? Okay, I'll let you be, and he just turns around. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it when that's fucking done. That's so funny.
I also like live action Buggy more,
Yeah,
honestly.
live action Buggy.
Same.
Like live action Buggy, just like I just love the way that like his character is portrayed by the actor. I simply just
Oh
love his
yeah.
comedy
yeah.
aspect. Obviously, I think in terms of drama, it's about the same.
Mhm.
There's not much of a difference in that regard. I think it's just presentation is what makes it different. Because Buggy in the manga is more like, what's the word, like
He's not as involved in with the whole
yeah,
Arlong
he's
thing.
more of a minor
he's
character.
not involved with the Arlong thing. But I was gonna say like he's more like slapstick comedy versus like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
slapstick
here
comedy
like the
versus shitty stand up. Fuck it.
yeah. Clearly the actor gave him a little edge that wasn't in the manga that I thought. So yeah, that the actor was probably one of the more believable people in the roles, honestly. Like he
Yeah.
really sunk in with that whole thing.
Which is
I love
funny.
his introduction when he walks into the circus and it's like, "Stop! Stop! 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 Everything's wrong.
That's funny as shit.
It's all
Yeah.
like completely mismatched."
Um, if I were to recall any like criticism I'd have, I guess towards the story, um, it's a fairly minor one, but we all remember Kuru, right? The guy who's like basically a speedster and he's got all those blades on him.
Mhm.
I thought it was weird that like once Luffy landed like a lucky hit on him, instead of just capitalizing and just like spam punching him like he does to Arlong later, he kind of just like gloats about it and then he lets him get back up. Granted, I think it's fine that he can't just speed over to him, like maybe he was like depowered for a bit or whatever. But Luffy doesn't know that. He doesn't know the full extent of his abilities. And if you get like a hit on a speedster, like from his perspective, he should be like, man, I was lucky to get that. I should probably capitalize on that and make sure he doesn't mess with me any further.
Mhm. It's
I
like
think
the
that's
reason why it's
understandable.
minor is because it's like afterwards immediately Luffy just kind of the fight's just kind of over. It'd be over
Yeah.
in like say a second earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It doesn't really
Yeah.
change how things play out. But I think it's a bit stupid for Luffy.
Hmm
I think also like a bit of a minor complaint about like the Kuro fight. Well, not necessarily Kuro's fight with Luffy. And then, again, this is minor. I don't think it's a big issue. But it's weird that Kuro just like pushes Usopp with, like his super speed and stuff like. And I don't think like, oh, Kuro should definitely killed Usopp or blah 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 blah. But it's weird that like he didn't like slash him or anything. He just, I guess,
He's just
pushed
bullying
him.
Usopp. Remember,
Yeah,
because like
I
he was
guess.
playing
I
with
don't know.
them. He was trying to he was trying to stab them through the walls while obviously missing.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
Mhm.
not that part. I mean, specifically like
No, I'm
when
using
he's in the
that to
roof now, and he just
explain
pushes
why
them.
later he
Oh,
would still be
okay.
fucking with them. Like that was the establishment of him just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna play with these guys for a bit.
I agree with that, Reed. I think it actually was interesting from a filmmaking perspective of how they were showing that, because they basically filmed it like a horror film.
Yeah,
Like
I really
he's
love how they
coming.
kind of
It's
turned the whole mansion thing into like a horror film. It
yeah,
was really
yeah.
fun.
I think it worked really well in like its presentation and how they were showing it.
They do a lot of interior work with the villain battles like Baratier, then the mansion, the Buggy's whole clown tent.
Yeah, the sets
So
are excellent.
mm, exactly. That's one of the strongest points of the show. The set designs and the costume work is also generally pretty great, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Even the makeup. Um,
Mhm.
the fact that they mostly stick to what they look like in the manga, but they didn't go full on cosplay. It looks a little slightly cosplay at parts, but since the world of One Piece in the live action is kind of cartoony ish, so it kind of blends in well. Even the fucking like hair colors, right? It may
Mm-hmm.
look odd if it was super grounded, but in this world, since it's the way it is, I think it works pretty well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kuro, I do wonder what they're gonna do with him in the following seasons, given that they drew emphasis to him
Yeah,
escaping on
him
this
escaping, which is
little
interesting.
robo.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because I genuinely have no clue what they're gonna do with him next.
Honestly, something
Yeah.
I do see as possible is that they take all of like these fallen pirates or enemy pirates that have lost to Luffy, and I'm thinking that there's a possibility that because Luffy is probably going to get very far, he's probably going to keep succeeding and making progress. It's going to motivate them to be like, hey, what if we teamed up? What if we all went up against Luffy just to get him out of the picture?
Oh,
It's something that I could
they
actually see
kind
happening.
they do kind of hint at that at the end, if you remember Alvida and Buggy meeting. So
Mm.
maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. What if the live action tries to include Kuro in there? I don't know.
Yeah,
What if
We don't know.
what if
Because like
they have their own fucking One Piece Sinister Six?
One Piece Sinister Six.
Fucking
Yeah, I could totally see the live action incorporating like changes like that.
I mean, fuck, Kuro, Buggy, Alvida. Well, that's four already. All we need is two more.
I wonder how they're gonna do
Uh-huh.
them like. I wonder how they're gonna do them catching up again because of they're probably gonna have to make the Grand Line and stuff like that work differently, which is gonna be interesting
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be able to catch up with them when they're so far ahead and they recovered and did all that other shit. You can't just, from what I recall, with how source material is, anyways, you can't just jump into the Grand Line without almost dying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
So
also curious whether they'll give them a higher budget this time.
I hope
Oh
so.
I think they
yeah.
probably
probably
will,
well,
given
dude.
how
It was like it
popular
was
the
trending in like multiple like countries and shit like that, and was number one on
Mhm.
Netflix. There's no
Yeah,
way
they
they don't
yeah
have a
they
very
higher
should
budget.
be. Yeah, they should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Best
And like
received live action adaptation
yeah,
anything. So
the show looks really good too, like from a cinematography perspective as well.
Mhm.
Hmm. What do you guys think about the overall visual effects and how it looks like?
I think it was
I
good overall.
I
I
yeah, I think
think
good overall.
overall
Some
it's okay. I think that some of the things that kind of perplexed me was like a lot of the CGI with Buggy was like kind of shit.
Yeah, the headless
Mhm.
the sorry, when it's just his head, it looked kind of odd. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
Yeah, it could have looked
Although
better in that regard. But I thought Luffy's
yeah.
visual effects were done excellently.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think
they nailed the stretchy effects as best as they could. I was especially impressed by that scene in episode 1 where he's stretching his mouth. That looked really good.
Like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
I think the effects surrounding the fishman when the big boss
Arlong?
karate my fishman karate guy when Sanji was kicking him, it looked too animatronic, like he wasn't emoting a lot,
Hmm.
Mm.
and
Yeah, I think
it sounded like his kicks had impact, but it didn't really look like Sanji's kicks had impact.
yeah, I've heard criticism about the makeup of the fishmen, like how they don't look like they can't emote that much. Although I think for Arlong they did really well. Like
But
he emotes quite a bit.
For Arlong and the other fish guy, that's just fire. I forgot his name again.
Karubi. Is he the karate
Yeah,
guy?
he looks. Yeah, that guy. No, the one that Usopp kills.
That's
Hmm.
Chu.
Yeah, that guy.
True.
He looks pretty good. And the server at the Baratier.
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, the server at the Brarty, that's good makeup too. Yeah, I forgot about him. He's yeah, I think overall they did really well. Although even though I said that the the different hair colors look pretty good for this live action setting, I did find it a bit odd for Nami in some places. I think when the scene is really well lit, her hair blends in really well, but there were like dark scenes where it didn't look that great. It had a little bit of an uncanny vibe to it. So yeah, it depends really. Depends on depending on the lighting choices. I think the different hair colors work really well, but in other places didn't quite work that well for me. That's something I hope they improve upon. Hopefully.
They probably will. If I were to be like, we'll see. We'll see. There's just a lot to look forward to.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's it's one of the things about like the Netflix annotation which I kind of love is like, not just like they're adapting it, but like there's so many different avenues that they can take, and just it's just a fun feeling because like this is sort of like my excitement like when I originally read through One Piece is kind of like a new sort of excitement like it because like I don't know what they're gonna do because generally since they're adapting it the way that they are there could be like they could do anything which is very fun.
Yeah, like Kuro, for example. Like I don't remember Kuro like
He was
escaping
captured in the
during.
manga.
Yeah, like he was captured in the manga. He
Mhm.
didn't escape. It's like I wonder why they let him escape. And like, what is their plan for him? Because I have no clue what they're gonna do. Like that's
Yeah.
all uncharted territory.
Another thing,
Yeah.
like in general, that I really liked about One Piece was how they wrote fights. Like it felt like every character was really competent. It didn't feel like anybody was not using their powers to their full extent.
Yeah.
Like the first like major fight scene with like everybody at the Marine base was I think like really well done, especially like like showing how like certain characters could take like certain people on, but like when just like a giant crowd focusing on like one person, obviously even like Luffy kind of got a bit overwhelmed in that sort of situation.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I've noticed that on the rewatch that some of the Marines they did try all of them tried coming after Luffy and it kind of worked. And then Axe-Hand Morgan like he came into the scene and everyone stopped. I thought yeah they did that the choreography for that fight in particular I thought they did a really good job on. Just in general too, it's really well done. I like the way they shot it too. Pretty well put together fight scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I like
What I really love.
the Arlong one the most at the end.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the banter between Sanji and Zoro when they're fighting.
yeah,
that was so
I love
funny.
Sanji and Zoro fighting together.
Sanji is like, but it's like, "Oh, we need to hurry. Luffy needs us. And Zoro's like, you haven't been here long enough to know what he needs.
Yeah, I love that they kind of had the bickering and like banter between Sanji and Zoro early. Like it's a part about like Sanji and Zoro's characters, which is really fun to read in the manga and great to watch in the show.
Yeah, Zoro wasn't there for the parts where Sanji was bonding with everyone, and that's why he keeps calling him a waiter when he wakes up.
I know he needs my cooking. What? Putting two slices of bread together?
Another Straw Hat crew pair relationship building that I quite liked was Zoro and Nami. I don't think we talked about that quite enough. I like where they set the seeds for um that whole dynamic in starting episode 2 actually, and I love where it went in episode was it 5, right? Yeah, with the whole um fucking the scene where they're sharing drinks. That's also a good addition that's not in the manga, but it really explained their characters quite well. And I quite like that Zoro assumed that Nami was from a wealthy background.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
It felt like
what about yeah, sorry, yeah, you were saying?
no, I was gonna say like one thing I kind of liked was how it felt like one of the setbacks for Nami that I feel like was kind of like shown because Nami's at this point in her life has only had to like manipulate people and isn't used to getting close to people. Was the only way that she could think to get close to Zoro was to let him get drunk and ask him questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That just shows that she's been observing the fact that he really loves drinking.
Well, yeah, that and the fact that like she uses that to like get people to like manipulate people. We've even seen it in the
That
first
also.
episode. That's like
Yeah,
what
in
I
the
was
first
saying.
episode, yeah, when she's trying to get a costume, sorry, a uniform for sneaking into the base, right? So,
Steal the map.
yep.
Yeah.
I kind of love
Um,
that just Nami just knocks him the fuck out and just takes his clothes.
yeah. Overall, yeah, they did a. I like the inclusion of Nami in that whole Shellstown bit. Um, they did a really good job establishing these people separately and then having them meet up after the halfway point in the first episode. um yeah. Any other notes with you,
Yeah.
SK?
I'm looking at it, and there's some details about Garp that I found interesting. Like how, for example, when he was like, always have a backup plan, and it turns out, Kobe, he took advantage of Kobe's connection to Luffy, and he knew, yeah, he did exactly what I wanted him to do. I wanted them to get drawn out, so that would put them exposed right in front of us, and we get to deal with them.
Hmm.
I thought that was interesting, an interesting way to start the Straw Hats versus Marines fight. I thought it was clever for his
Hmm.
character. I also liked how Garby, I mixed Kobe and,
Garpy.
and Garp.
Garvey
I fucking mixed their names. What the hell? Garp laughs in pride at what Luffy has achieved once he actually manages to escape the Marines. So I thought that was interesting. Deep down, even though he's against what he's doing, he has some kind of pride in there that prevents him from fully going through with taking out Luffy. It shows that there's a conflict there. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought that was effective. Um, what
which
else?
is kind of telling about his character because like as we go down the road in the season 1 we start to see like Garp eventually get to the point where he has to like put pride when he's standing right in front of Luffy he has to put pride aside and really just do his job, which is something that we can tell by his like manner of like walking around that's what he has to do a lot is yes
Oh
he's
yeah.
usually putting aside
Mm.
his feelings for what he
Mm-hmm.
thinks is the right thing to get Luffy to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
uh,
think that was done really well.
SK, if you don't have like some note, I really want to talk about like one scene in episode. Oh, not like one scene, but like a very major part of episode like 7.
Mm-hmm.
You don't got like a note.
Well,
Oh
you can
wait,
go
do you
on.
want me to talk
You can go on. Yeah,
about the?
go for it.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I really, really love the scenes with Zeph and Garp talking. Just both of their backgrounds, both being on the opposite sides, and just you getting this just really raw, just like two people who have been through a lot, who've been through the opposite sides, who are old men, and just really them like diving down and getting into like you know their lives and watching like this new generation come up and being very hopeful, but at the same time very scared of what could happen, especially the people who they care about.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Mhm.
I was actually thinking about that earlier today.
Yeah.
um, yeah. Overall, yeah, Garp, really well done. Honestly,
Yeah.
I can't think of a fault with them, and I don't really buy into the whole criticism about his motivation not making sense or whatever. I thought on a rewatch, it does seem like it really adds up. It makes a lot of sense to me,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I think I heard that the showrunners were the ones pushing for the GARP inclusion, and they had to convince Oda, the author of the manga, to go along with their suggestion. And yeah, I think
Yep, I heard that
it
too.
worked out for them. Yeah, honestly, I think it worked out for the show. They definitely needed to do something with Kobe after setting him up in episode 1, and I think using Garp for that was the best choice.
Hmm.
Yeah. Any other notes?
I think I got a few. Let me just double check.
Mm,
I'm
Um,
gonna go get a snack. You guys continue.
all right.
okay.
No problem.
Um, talked about that. Talked about that. Oh, something that I did find interesting is that when, um, what's his name? When Sanji was feeding the pirate that arrived, um, and he needed food, he hasn't had food in a week. Uh, Once
Hmm.
the topic of the One Piece is brought up, he talks about, you know, oh shoot, yeah, you're going after the One Piece, he tried he kind of spooks them a little bit, where he's like, yeah, you shouldn't go there. It's gonna it's gonna result in, because I lost my entire crew. I was the only one that survived. The turnout, the outlook is
Hmm.
not going to be good at all. So I do like that, and they do this consistently throughout the show, where they imply very heavily going after the One Piece, very dangerous. It helps establish the stakes. It helps show, these people have
Yeah.
lost people in the process of trying to do so. It's a very dangerous mission you're going on, so I think it helps with the stakes and the tension of it all, of what they're doing.
Mm. And the show, the first season, to be honest, they do highlight the fact that there are much stronger people than Luffy and his crew, right? For example, Mihawk. So these are the kind of people that they're they're gonna meet in the Grand Line. So yeah, the story does a great job with establishing the different hierarchies of things and the dangers that await them. So
Yeah.
Mhm. Like it's I think a really good like kind of like what you were saying, like Luffy like currently has like the highest bounty in like East Blue. At the same time, it's like Luffy just started. There's like so many like Luffy
mhm,
hasn't even crossed the Grand Line. There's a lot more for Luffy to face and for people who like have been at this longer, like Mihawk, like Shanks. I think that was really
yeah.
well done in the show.
Which is why I really like the choice that they ended where they did, because again it shows that they're just about to start a journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
So yeah, ending it on that note, I think again the right choice. I didn't need 2 more episodes. They can do all that whatever comes after this, um, season 2 onwards. So
mm,
Yeah. I thought the amount of episodes they had was perfect for the pacing and the story that they were going
yeah.
for. I thought it was structured
yep.
very well.
I feel like it'd
I
be
never
kind of
felt like there
Mhm.
was like a
to
wasted episode or just an episode for filler, which
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes you can feel like
everyone
for like a
felt
Netflix
purposeful.
production or just TV
Mm,
productions.
I feel
yeah.
like for like a season cliffhanger, I feel like Luffy like getting his bounty out there and everybody seeing like the world being introduced to him as a cliffhanger for the next season. I think that's a really good place to leave off
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not like how there's not just going to be a new episode next week or something like that. Like that's it for the next like couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Like
awkward if it just kind of ended at Logetown.
yeah, yeah, Mike, I was about to say that the Logetown bit just really screams this is the start of season 2 more than the end of season 1 to me. So
Mhm.
that's why I also prefer that they ended with them just starting to go on this journey, and they, dropped little teasers for what's to come. But yeah, I'm really excited. If they choose to keep it 8 episodes from here on out, I think that's okay too. As long as it's like really tightly put together and there's not a single wasted moment and they cover everything that they need to, then I'm all for it. 8 episodes, good to me. So
No, yeah, it just feels like weird because it's like I don't expect them to cover everything that the manga
yeah,
does. It seems kind of unrealistic. Like remember Gaimon, that little guy in the treasure chest from the manga,
yeah.
who's just kind of there for
We
2 seconds.
both, yeah, and I believe before the first season came out, we both pretty much told each other that yeah, that guy's not gonna be included for sure.
Luffy and Sanji when they're traveling to Nami's island, they fight like a giant serpent that's a cow. Which is obviously just a
Mhm.
giant joke. Which yeah, no, just cut it.
Yeah, but I do like that even the parts that they skip out on, they do kind of mention it here and there. For example, remember in episode 1, when Luffy's talking to Kobe and Shellstem when they're in the bar, they're talking about how they can sneak into the base, and Luffy's like, "Oh, let me just grab onto a bird and get in," which is what happens in the manga, but obviously in the live action, that's not what happens. So they go for a more realistic, grounded thing, but they do make sure to mention what happens in the manga as a sort of like wink, wink. Hey, this is something that could have happened here, but we chose to make it a joke instead, sort of as a reference to the manga. So I do like that they do that. That's actually a good thing in
It's
my
also a
eyes.
way because they realize how low the budget is. They can't make the characters do
But
anything
yeah.
outrageous. Like
Mm.
in the manga when Luffy had to gum gum rocket and outrace bullets that were gonna hit Zoro and Kobe. Like you're not gonna be able to do that shit in live action right off the bat.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just
They
realistic.
do yeah, they do weave around with their budget in quite clever ways. So yeah, um, overall, I'm really happy with what we got. Of course, small improvements that I hope to see from a visual point of things. As we move forward to season 2 and onwards. Another thing that that I didn't quite get to mention earlier was on the visual filmmaking point of view, I didn't quite love the amount of zoom ins that they were doing on the characters' faces. I wish they would tone that down just a bit. I do get that it's a stylistic thing, but yeah, in some episodes it just felt a little too much. But that's just a small thing here and there. There's nothing like really big and egregious to the point of me really disliking something in this show. At least so far, anyway.
Yeah. When's the next season coming out?
Well,
Uh,
so because of the writer's strike, they couldn't shoot. I
season
believe they would
two.
have started
Yeah.
shooting last year if that whole strike didn't happen. But they're about to begin filming soon. I believe maybe this month, next month, or something. So you could probably expect, um, like a quarter 1 2025 at the earliest, maybe mid at the latest. So it'll come out next year for sure.
Gotcha.
That's sort of
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you for the 5, Larry. One thing I like is how guns in One Piece are depicted as well. I don't hate it. In uh, as well as while I don't hate it, the guns in the anime look flintlock but can shoot multiple times. Yeah, I guess the guns in One Piece were, um, I guess it feels kind of old timey, but not really, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't feel old, old.
It's a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might just be like an anime slash manga thing of,
Mm-hmm.
eh,
Even then, it's in the
want to shoot
manga.
multiple
It's like
times.
they just like you can quick draw a flintlock like a pistol in the manga. and have it shoot like a fucking machine gun, but that's just like
Yeah.
how it works, you know. It would be an appeal to reality to be like that, but I get the gripe, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like how in
Mm.
Beat has some rifles shoot like their machine guns, and some people think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I'm fine with the design that they went with, though.
yeah. But any other
Mm,
notes?
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about is Sanji, like his goodbyes to Death and like their back and forth.
mm,
Um,
Mm,
I thought that was done very
great scene.
effectively. Um,
yeah, that was. I rewatched that a bit earlier today, and it's so good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he fits perfectly with the crew, um, and it seemed like Zeph was reluctant to accept that. But I think on their final goodbyes, in spite of their back and forths, they remember what's important, why they met up in the first place, why they're together to begin with. So I
Why
think that's really
Sanji's the
key.
cook?
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
So, oh,
no, sorry,
you
you
go.
go on first.
uh, like a very like big thing with like Zeph and Sanji's like they give each other a shit a lot of time, but like obviously deep down they like truly care for one another. It's why like Sanji and Zoro's relationships like at least for me really fun because like they give each other a lot of shit like a lot of the time. That's just sort of how those two are. Like kind of like with Zoro and Nami and Zoro even with Luffy at first, like he gives like them shit, but like he obviously deeply cares for people.
Mm-hmm.
And Sanji also gives that energy like right back, which especially given with his history of Zeph, it just makes me really love a lot of Sanji's interactions with people.
Yeah.
I wish
Also, when SK, when you said that Sanji would fit in with the crew, I got reminded of the scene with Zoro and Sanji, where Sanji yells out his finishing move, and Zoro's like, "Yeah, you're gonna fit in just fine."
Oh yeah, if, like because Zoro also makes fun of Luffy for that. I really love that bit
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Find
was
that
a
funny
great bit.
as a what's it called as a like kind of a parallel to the manga where everyone and their fucking mother names attacks.
Which is why it's funny when Zoro is the one saying it, because we know he's one of the few characters in the manga who spams that the most.
Yeah. His literal. In fact, he did. I think he was one of the first characters in the book to do a named attack.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Town.
yeah.
I thought
He
it would have been
was.
Luffy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, I think Luffy's probably the first, but yeah, Zoro's
He
one
is
of
because
the first.
she does a gum gum pistol, but Zoro I said one of the first,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
not the first. But yeah, wish I took more
Mm,
notes. But sorry, SK, I hate to like kind of make you carry, but any
Oh
more
well.
notes?
Well, I don't have all that much else like
For
in
the
terms
first
of
time,
notes.
Mike doesn't have much notes on One Piece.
this is what
I
happens
think
when you have a show you really like. You just end up not having a lot of criticisms that
well,
much. And yeah.
I know,
I
I'm a
feel like
dick
what
rider. I know.
To
I feel like what it
be
really
fair, I've
came
joined
down
you on
to.
that now, Mike. So
I feel like what it really came down to was the fact that there's so much to say. We're kind of just excited to just throw it all out. And then we've gotten through, like, by this point, it's only been, like, I think a couple hours. We've gotten through, like, a whole bunch of it. So,
It's just that's how a
Yeah.
thumpcast should be. Remember how a lot of times an old like podcast that we do, it would just take for fucking ever, and it would just be like we'd get sidetracked and
because
start
people, like,
shitposting.
don't shut up. They laugh at the stupidest things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's like
Yeah.
now it felt kind of weird. I was like, huh, I feel like we're done too early. Did we do enough? And then it's like, oh wow, I guess we did talk about a lot.
No,
No,
we
we
did. It's
definitely
more
talked about a lot.
concise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember a lot of the things we talked about. I
Yeah,
think we
it just
touched
didn't
on.
feel like a lot.
I think we touched on pretty much everything that we needed to. We talked about the main characters. We talked about Long. We talked about Buggy, Kuro, the
Yeah.
fucking visuals,
Like
the
every character
stunts, the
there was so much to talk about because like I think every character is given quite a bit of dimension, um and like every main
yeah.
character at least. So
Even some of the side characters like Zeph and Garp, just to name a few, they also have quite the dimension to them, which is it's the show does a really good job of making you care about these characters, which is something not a lot of shows can get correct. So you have to praise One Piece for that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wish that they had more attention to that people do complain about, but I don't have that. It's more of an adaptation argument, so it's not like this is preference. One thing I kind of disliked was how they took out like some of the actual hard hitting like backstories, stuff like that, like Genzo and Shushu. Like yeah, they're there, but like remember at the end, like fuck, I can't say that, but just
It's
look
okay.
out for a guy with a pinwheel. He has very big significance in the Arlong arc.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I sort of wish they also like had him a bit more like prevalent, especially because in the manga and anime he has more of like sort of a fatherly sort of dynamic with Nami, which the show kind of doesn't really.
Dom.
Okay,
Don't.
sorry.
Uh,
I just love
chill.
One
Why I
Piece. I'm
was
sorry.
vague.
I
That's
love
why
these
I was
characters.
vague.
One
I
Piece
know.
shills.
Okay. Rose, I just realized Rose the
This is
only
why you
person
gotta
who
read
likes
the manga,
Spider-Man
SK. Just
in
do
a
it now.
fucking VC.
SK is the only non-One Piece shill in this chat right
No,
now.
what do you mean? I
Yeah.
gotta show for
Yeah.
the Ditko run for Spider-Man. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
SK, honestly, you should have just showed up to the stream as Arlong. I'm gonna be so real. You missed an
Oh,
opportunity.
that is a missed opportunity because I've been memeing on him for like the longest time.
And then you find out he's like the
Really?
best villain in the show.
Yeah, which is like that's actually hilarious. Dude, I've been
Well, I
making
find it
fun of
funny.
for his looks, and then it's like, oh wow, he's like a fucking great character.
It's funny because that's kind of what One Piece is as a whole. It's just wow, this guy looks goofy as shit, and then you start crying. It's like, what the fuck is this? What is it?
It's funny because it's true.
I still
So SK,
remember
are you gonna?
when
Oh,
Jackdaw
sorry.
Miles thought that one image of Arlong where it's like you constantly use for memes, that he thought that was the Joker.
He thought it was the Joker because he smiles and he's purple, I guess, because the Joker's purple.
Of course he is, and he
Fucking
has a
stupid.
very good jawline and a
Yeah.
long chin.
And sharp
Sharp
teeth.
blade nose.
Yeah.
Long nose tip.
That's
Yeah.
what Joker's
Yeah.
known for.
Tell you what, SK. Once you finish East Blue in the manga, we'll come back and we'll have, because then you'll be caught up with the what the live action adapted. We'll come
Yeah.
back and do a stream on that if you want.
Yeah, for
Ooh, that'd
sure.
be fun. I'd love to join
Maybe
that.
maybe come season 2, we'll be able to talk more about the manga.
Ooh, so like we
Yeah,
have like a recap of season 1 with like SK's like knowledge.
Yeah, that
yeah.
could be interesting.
A perspective on the manga versus the live action.
Mhm.
I like that. Yeah, this is something you could get normies into now without even having to read the manga.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Bro, Spider-Man wishes it had an adaptation this good. It's gonna be so real.
Damn.
But
The disrespect
Do you mean
to
do you mean like
Spider-Verse.
do you mean like a series live action adaptation or
yeah.
movies?
Well, I
Oh,
mean, it's
series,
like,
okay.
like I'd say the One Piece live action is such a good adaptation that doesn't really alienate the fans like some Spider-Man adaptations do. But
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I mean, that's
it
the
keeps
thing. This
the
is like better
community together.
than I think pretty much all Spider-Man adaptations. Like I think the only things that really compare to this would probably be the Spider-Verse movies and I guess the first 2 Raimi movies but even then I still think this is much more impressive
I
than
don't know about Into. Cross makes an argument. Into is like I've done some thinking about that. We could talk about that
Oh,
some time and
okay.
plan a stream if you want.
For sure. I mean, I think I
Across is
remember
still
watching.
great.
Yeah, I still think Across is better. But I remember rewatching
yeah.
Into with like Liam, Tag, a bunch of other people. I thought, oh, okay. I'm spotting some problems, but it's still great overall.
Yeah.
I
Well,
still
just like
enjoy this movie so far.
I don't
Yeah.
want to like measure 2 different movies based on like fucking plot issues. I want to go into a more. I want to be able to talk more artistically about
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
But
yeah. That
I'll
makes
figure
sense.
that out.
It is It is fun to talk about, not just the plot.
Well, yeah, because then it just comes to, oh, is this consistent? Oh, okay, it's consistent, good. And then you just have
Yeah,
nothing
it's
else to
kind
say
of
about it.
boring. Yeah,
Like,
it's yeah, like these projects offer like not just a story. It's more about how they convey the story, also. So
Yeah, that's why I think like with Across the Spider-Verse, I think why it's a huge step from Into, one of the biggest reasons, is the fact that it's like it's already taken a lot of what the first movie has done, but it's made it so much better on like a technical scale. Um, and
Mhm.
like the way the whole animation style, I just think they took it to a whole new level with this one. Um, not to
not
engage
only
in
just
memeing, but like it unironically, there's innovation in it.
and not only just the animation, I thought the score was such a big upgrade from the first one. Like they
Yeah.
took bits and pieces of what made the score in the first one work really well, and they just like went all in times 10.
I just think the
Yeah.
way it
And
does
I
impact,
yeah.
the way it does
Mhm.
impact, like say the time like Miles started seeing the future of what was to
Mm,
come with his dad when he was in the room with Miguel and he sensed the spot.
yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
the way that was presented, the way how ominous like they make the spot look as a character with not only the voice acting but
Mm.
just the way he's animated is something that I would not have like seen coming from the Spider Verse films.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to praise with those movies, at least from a technical standpoint. Even if you don't love the story or hate that it ended, or in like a part one kind of fashion, which is what a lot of people say now. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Lorian's trying to politely say that he thinks that the story is shit. No, I'm just
Wow.
I give it a 7, Mike.
okay, we know how you feel.
I hate it.
But like, yeah.
I only think it's pretty.
I think I think adaptations in general, with what based on what you're telling me about the manga and how like how the Netflix show handles it in comparison, I think adaptation should go the way that this show does. Like if people were to ask
Mm,
me, how do you think adaptation should handle, you know, how do you think adaptation should be written, or how do you think they should work with the source material and create its own thing? I would say probably you look at One Piece. This is probably the prime example
yeah.
of what you should do.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
even when people a lot of people were complaining about Along not being as big as the manga, when I watch the show it doesn't bother me at all. It just
Uh-huh.
works within this whole show. The
I also
fact that
Especially
don't
he's
if
not
understand it because they want him to like move around like in a very like specific way. Like you can't get any of the crazy action that you would have gotten from like they're trying to replicate the manga to some degree, even to very
Mm,
like choreographic details like with Luffy's battle axe, the gum gatling and stuff like that, the shark
yeah,
tooth drill. Like you wouldn't have
yeah.
been able to do that if Arlong was big and slow because when you are doing filmmaking, while you can alter it to a certain degree, with choreography and set design, you still have to like
He's a
have
lot
actors that are
more
able to move around and shit.
yeah,
It's not like a
yeah.
drawing.
He
Yeah.
can he can physically emote a lot more with the size that he is in the adaptation than he would have been if he was like big and all that. So
Also,
also
he
like
just like wouldn't be able to move around at all. He'd be fucking like
yeah,
weighed down to the floor, or unless they
Mhm.
CGI'd it and made it look kind of ugly, which I kind of like
yeah.
because they wanted to keep it
I
practical as much as possible, which I really respect
I
this.
mhm.
yeah, I love the fact that they went all as much as into using practical effects as they did, which is not a lot of shows would do that, or movies even. They
Yep,
just waste
especially
away their budget with CGI.
Yeah.
especially with like the ships and stuff and a lot of like the ports and nautical like
Mm,
things really do like give the locations so much more life that they are like physical like areas. There's not like that
yeah,
much CGI and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I really respect what they did. And it ended up looking good too, so that's a
Yeah.
bonus.
Hmm.
Something else I want to mention, not fully related, but the song that plays in episode 8, I think it's called My Sails Are Set. I thought that was a really
Yep,
good
Mm,
the ending
song.
song.
Yeah, it's the
Hmm.
ending
It was
yeah,
song.
really really beautiful, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Yeah,
good song. Yeah,
we are
I was
better.
I was when that song first came out before I believe it came out even before this series even launched.
Hmm.
I thought I was worried about whether it would fit in because it's not really a One Piece kind of thing, right? That song just on its own, but the way that they build up to that song with little instrumental versions for Nami's flashbacks, and then it like of course then it led to the full song being played or part of the song, so it didn't feel out of nowhere. It fit in just fine, which I really like the way they did that. Just the
Yeah.
music in general, not even just the song, just the score in general, really well done.
The
I
score was
thought
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
It even starts off with a bang in episode 1 with the whole Gold
Yeah,
Roger
Roger's execution's
execution scene.
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then he gets into
Just
like
even
the
on like
score
on its
there.
own, I really did love like Roger's execution because it's more of like a blurb in the manga, and
Yeah,
it's
this
just
like
so.
poster bit that they do with whenever they introduce a character, there's like a
Oh
flying
yeah.
poster in front of them.
It's great
Uh,
stylization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a it's kind of a parallel to like what the manga does, where it just does like the title of their name and their bounty beneath it. Whereas this one, it just like they just slap their fucking poster up there, and it's like
It
it's all
fit.
dramatic and
Yeah.
shit. And it looks funny.
It fits in so well, and I love how like depending on the character they treat the poster differently. Roger just lets it fly away because of course he's captured, whereas someone like Don Krieg he gets a poster and he just like wraps it into a ball and throws it away. So
Don Krieg's
and
got
then
like cut into bits.
yeah,
He was getting
and
executed.
yeah, and then I believe did Mihawk slice his poster?
I
Yep.
think so. Either
And like
that or
Arlong
it
like
just made a
tears his
bunch of
like poster
slashes.
apart
Yeah,
with his teeth.
yeah, all along tears with his teeth. Yeah, yeah, that was really good. That's another like small choice that really paid off. I thought.
Yeah, but I think we just said about everything.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we
One Piece
did.
is good. If you didn't get this from like however long we've been doing this, One Piece is good. Watch it if you haven't. Why are you watching this if you haven't? Watch
Yeah,
it, read it,
absolutely
watch the
recommend it.
anime. One Piece.
And yeah, I am
Yeah.
gonna be checking out the manga because of this. Like, goddamn.
Yeah,
Mm,
hopefully soon.
that's awesome to
Yeah.
hear.
If I
Yeah.
see you in a call talking about the Suicide Squad game before I see you talking about chapter, we're gonna fucking have problems.
Well,
Gonna
that's
get out that whip. Be careful, SK.
well. Just stay tuned for what's happening tomorrow in the afternoon, cause
Then tonight I better see some chapter reviews.
fucking tonight.
It's
Fucking
one
psycho.
chapter, SK. It's 10 pages.
That's true. Maybe I could fit in one chapter. I could fit in one. That is possible.
Oh yeah, you could. For somebody who like started like 2 years ago reading the manga is really easy to read. Like
Hmm.
a chapter,
Yeah,
like one chapter takes about like
yeah.
5 minutes or so.
5
Like
minutes to read.
the
SK,
best
I
thing for
read an
me has
entire
been like
arc in a
reading it
day.
during work. Like
Entire arc in a
I
day.
get like
Well,
on
how
a
long
break
was
at
that
work,
day
and
for
I
you?
read like 10 chapters during my break, and it's so fun.
Normally 24 hours. I don't know how long your days are.
Well,
weirdo.
I meant like when you're active, fool.
It was a weekend. I didn't have anything going on. It was a day off.
Yeah,
I
so
just
your
read.
entire day
It was
off.
kind of crazy. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, that just tells me wait till you have a full day off, and then you could just bust through a whole arc.
Yeah.
I mean, my
Actually,
breaks
what
are
I did
like
for
30
Skype.
minutes.
Yeah.
I'm able to read like 10 chapters.
By the way,
Yeah, that's what I
underrated shit.
did too. When I was in the middle of like university and all that, and Mike told me to read it, I read 10 chapters a day for the most part. Sometimes I
Yeah.
would go to 20 if I was that free, but yeah, I think
Mhm.
realistically you could squeeze in 10 if you wanted to.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, also one thing, SK, don't ever listen to the community when they say skip Skypea or skip any arc. They're
Yes,
fucking
don't skip
goobers.
anything.
Yeah, that's cringe.
How
Why would they
about
tell people to skip out and shit?
don't listen to the community in general. Just fucking get your own ideas. I
Yeah,
don't know.
just
Thank God.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
check it
for the
out.
most part, I agree.
Check it out and come to your own conclusions.
This is why
It's like
I don't mean to throw shade,
Hmm.
but like whenever like I say like if I were to introduce someone to Spider-Man, I would be like, don't listen to the community, just make your own fucking opinions. Don't listen to the
Yeah.
community.
Mm.
There's no like point in getting
Yeah.
involved. You're just gonna give yourself a headache.
Yeah.
If I can tell that to people whenever I give a bad score for a movie that's well liked or whatever, I always tell them, hey, check it out. And then you decide, don't just listen to me and don't check it out. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's also just like what's it called? One thing I tried to get into Ditko Spider-Man. I just could not. The pacing was
Yeah, I think
oof.
there's way
I
too
just
much text on the page.
yeah. One Piece sometimes it's an entire page of art and choreography.
Yeah.
Mm.
This is
Like
something
there won't
that
Where
even
do
be
you
a
guys
fight
re-
level.
sorry, where do you guys read the comics, the Ditko comics? I've been meaning to read them too.
Where did I read them? I used Marvel
Yeah.
Unlimited, my local comic shop, and just some pirating sites. But I'm just
Mm.
kidding, YouTube. I'm not stealing.
No,
Anyway.
he's just
We're talking
giving us
about
the
pirates
Anyway.
because this is One
King
Piece.
of the
This is
Pirates.
One
This is
Piece.
One
I'm
We
not
have to
stealing.
talk
I'm talking
about
about pirates. But yeah, please keep giving us revenue. We're not stealing. Anywho,
Yeah, like with the Ditko run, I think my main complaint about it is that it doesn't take advantage of the fact that it's a visual medium as much as it really should. It includes lots of text that we don't need, a lot of things that come across as on the nose that like, okay, you can just show this with subtlety. We can see it with character reactions, we can see it with what's happening on the screen. Like we don't need this stuff, and it's just way too wordy because of that.
yeah, tell those nerds, SK. Let them know.
Yeah, that's the one thing I
Honestly,
really deal. Sorry.
yeah, I'll be quick. I honestly feel like uh when you're like dealing with like comics and stuff like that, I think most of the page should occupy like the pictures, the important stuff in the story. But what I feel like what happens a lot with the Deco run is that a lot of it, maybe not most of it, but a lot of the page is occupied by text. And I think that's a bit much.
By yapping.
Yeah.
Hmm.
A lot of it is just like redundant type dialogue. It's like saying the same shit over and over again, or it's saying the thing that's
Yeah,
really being depicted.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah, I've
it's
seen
kind
a
it
bit
feels
of it.
spoon feedy.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that, like pictures of comics from back then, and some of them, yeah, they do overcrowd their page, and they don't know how to lay out a page with, the right amount of dialogue versus like visuals. Yeah, it's not just a Ditko thing, I guess. It's still prevalent today in a lot of different comics, manga, etc. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
It's one thing I
I
really
will
do love
say.
about like. Oh,
Go ahead. You've been waiting actually, so yeah, you should go.
that's all right. It's one character. Live action also did really well with like Luffy's character. Is like he doesn't, I don't like a bad way, but he doesn't think through stuff. He's very like emotional and he
Reactive.
goes through it.
mm,
But
that's one thing I really like too. Everyone has their own flaws, and yeah, ways, and yeah, I can't wait to. And I'm more. It's funny. It's I never thought I would be saying this, but not only am I really excited for what they're gonna adapt, but I'm really really excited for the things they're gonna change and add on,
mhm.
just as much as what they're gonna adapt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
no, I get you. But yeah, I think that sums it up. SK, you got
Yeah,
10
I
pages of reading homework to do.
I 10
Due
pages
by
of reading
midnight,
homework.
by the way. If I don't get a text by you by midnight, I'm heading to New York, and you're gonna get a fucking knock on the door.
Oh man. But yeah, I
On
think.
there,
Even when you're
wait,
not in school, SK got like assignments got due on the ASAP.
Yeah, they're just gonna be like, yeah,
yes.
where's he at? Where's he at? Yeah, I think
It's gonna start 2 piece.
2 piece, yeah. I think we had a good stopping point. The next one
Do
is
we
going
want
to.
to give a final? Do we want to wait? Do we want to give a final rating for the
Oh yeah,
season?
10 out of
Or
10.
do you want to?
I'm
10.
throwing it out.
What about you, Dom? What about you?
Fairly early. I got into it like 12, 13 years ago. I was still like a little kid. But yeah, One Piece just has a lot of things going on. Like it's really helped me through tough times. Talked about what it
Mhm.
means to like know yourself and be yourself, not let anyone like want to change you while also being open to change. Like
That's great. That's
done a
good
lot
to
of
hear.
like lessons.
Yeah, especially during these 2 years for me, it's been very helpful.